Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your guest co-hosts, Brady from Stats Diggers and the Rain Man. Today, we're going to talk about UFC Houston, Sean Strickland versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And my friends, it's going down this Saturday night live at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. You got the former champion, Sean Strickland, taking on the streaking, emerging Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, looking to secure himself a title shot. It's a hell of a card. Brady, welcome back to Half the Battle, my friend.
What's up, man? I'm looking forward to this card quite a bit, actually. I think they did a really good job with the matchmaking, and I'm thinking a lot of violence this Saturday as well. Lots of finishes. I'm hoping some people leave on stretchers. I think it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears, because that sounds amazing to me. Rain Man, hey, you stepped up on short notice last time. This time you got a full camp. Welcome back to Half the Battle.
Got a full training camp this time around, yeah. Yeah, super excited, man. We had 1 week off, so that always leaves you hungry for some fights.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it. And when we say hungry, we're not referring to Tai Tuivasa. So let's get down to business, my friends, because in this main event, we got Sean Strickland, the former champion. He's 29-7, taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who's 15-2. Currently, they got it Fluffy minus 270. The comeback on the former champion is plus 230. So it's Strickland that's 2 years older at 34. 1 inch taller at 6'1", and also has a reach advantage, a 1 inch reach advantage at 76 inches of reach. So I got to tell y'all, ever since Anthony Fluffy Hernandez dropped that fight to Kevin Holland, his turnaround has been absolutely phenomenal. Listen, he was always a great fighter. I mean, on the LFA scene, you know, he beat Brendan Allen there, not just in the UFC, but the way he's really put things together since that Kevin Holland fight. And he's put on size since then because, you know, he got hurt to the body a bunch in the Maluko fight, in the Holland fight. Now he's really filling out for the weight class, 8-fight win streak, and that weaponized cardio, that pace, and double-digit takedown attempts. You know, it's one thing to talk about someone doing those things as a little guy, but when you see an 85er doing that, they're going to stand out. And boy, does he stand out. So, Brady, I got to know, man, what do you think about this fight? Because Sean Strickland, also known for fighting at a heavy pace, also known for serious cardio, and has championship experience. So this is one hell of a main event we got here in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. You know, Fluffy's one of my favorite fighters because, like you said, I like these guys that can push a pace, and we don't see that at middleweight. Like we can see like Merab doing it, you know, Max Holloway doing it. We're talking bantamweights, featherweight. I mean, this guy's a middleweight. He can go out there and attempt 20-plus takedowns, and I think he will attempt like 20-plus takedowns in this fight. And yeah, it's interesting because Sean Strickland, unlike some of Fluffy's past opponents, like Strickland, he has cardio. You know, he is a former champion. He has good takedown defense. He has a good get-up game. I'm just not sure it's going to really matter. You know, I think Fluffy's going to take him down. I think Sean's going to get back up. I think Fluffy's going to take him right back down, rinse and repeat, and I think that's going to be the case over the course of 25 minutes. I've always said I think Fluffy is going to be a future champ, and I still stand by that. I think it's going to probably have to be when Khamzat retires, but I think he'll be a former champ or a future champ nonetheless, and I think he's going to go out there and beat Sean Strickland, probably by decision, but I wouldn't put it past me if there was like a late finish as well. It's just going to be kind of tough to break Sean Strickland. Strickland's not like a Roman Dolidze or like a Michel Pereira. So this is a tough test for Hernandez, but I think he still passes it.
Yeah, Rain Man, what do you think about Strickland's current form? Because, you know, you watch the two Duplessis fights, and on paper it's easy to say, hey, he went the distance with Duplessis twice, but the fights were drastically different. You know, the second fight, it looked like, okay, is this guy starting to decline a little bit? And even the fight after the first Duplessis fight against Paulo Costa, if you look at just the box score on UFC stats, it's like, hey, man, he's putting on the kind of output we like, but you actually sit down and watch that fight. And I mean, God bless you if you don't fall asleep doing so. So what do you kind of think about this matchup here?
Yeah, man. So I think the big point of this fight is mind state. Sean Strickland in an interview recently said that he doesn't even see the belt in his vision anymore. Like, it's not even in his brain anymore. And he's just looking to get as many fights as he can and stack up some money. And where, you know, we just saw Fluffy had an interview, I think it was today, when he said, I'm a championship level fighter and, you know, I want that belt. I mean, these two guys are on like two different mind states right now. And I think that's the big difference here, Dan. like you said, the first fight with Dricus Duplessis took Sean Strickland down 6 times. Like, he really had to use his wrestling to beat him. In the second fight, he only took him down once and actually just beat him on the feet, which is, you would think if that fight was taking place on the feet, Sean Strickland would get the better of it. But no, man. I mean, he's clearly on a decline. It's a very interesting fight. Like Brady said, Sean Strickland checks all the boxes of cardio, takedown defense, output. That's like everything you need to beat Fluffy Hernandez, because he's kind of waiting for you to get tired. And Sean Strickland, like the one we grew to love, doesn't get tired, has high output, has great takedown defense. But I just think his mind state's not there, man. One of them's talking about, I'm championship material, and one of them's talking about, I don't even see the belt in my brain anymore. So, I mean, I got to side with Fluffy, man, just to, outwork him and probably get that championship shot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, stylistically speaking, when's the last time someone truly attempted multiple takedown attempts on Sean Strickland? You can think of Duplessis. Yeah, well, Duplessis won the fight. Besides that, right. Who? I'll tell you who. Kamaru Usman. And you want to know something funny about that? I was talking about that on my earlier video, and people were like, did he just compare Fluffy Hernandez to the second greatest welterweight of all time? It's like, was I talking about accolades, dummy? No, I'm just talking about fighting styles. And the fighting style that Usman displayed against Strickland is the exact kind of fighting style that Fluffy is going to have to come out here and replicate, go out there with that game plan, double-digit takedown attempts. And I don't think it's going to be easy by any means. It's just that when this fight goes deep, and I know Strickland's got this reputation of having this insane cardio, but did y'all see that insane cardio that last time he went 5 rounds? Because I sure as hell didn't. I mean, like, his coach was like begging him to wake up in the third, fourth, and fifth rounds because he didn't do jack shit in the first 2. So to me, I agree with you guys that once you hit the mountaintop, there's nowhere to go but down. And Strickland even becoming a champion, I feel like that's almost overachieving in a sense. And the fact that he didn't just become champion, that he dethroned the great Israel Adesanya, like, hey, kid, like, you'll always have that memory. You'll always have that feather under your cap, and you'll always have that win on your resume. But he's going to have to really come out here and reinvent himself to beat someone with the hunger of Fluffy Hernandez, someone with the pace, the relentlessness, the cardio, the weaponized cardio. And I simply think that Fluffy's catching him at the perfect time. He's on that win streak. He's paid his dues. If he was on this win streak and he had never faced defeat inside the octagon, then I'd be kind of hesitant. But the guy knows what the ups and the downs are like, and he's made all the proper adjustments. He's beat every single person in his way. The only thing left to do now is to beat a former champion to secure yourself that title shot. And that's exactly what I think he's going to do Saturday night in Houston, Texas, live at the Toyota Center. So about a week or 2 ago, when Fluffy was minus 230, I took him straight to win a unit. So let's get it, gentlemen.
Nice. Just to add something to it, there's like these pictures floating around of Sean Strickland looking like he's in incredible shape. I was talking to you guys backstage about it right now. I remember when Brady and I were in the building, UFC 298, when Robert Whittaker was fighting Duplessis. Like, there was pictures floating around of Robert Whittaker that he was in the best shape of his life. And what happened, man? He got dropped with a jab,
Let me say something regarding Strickland being in the best shape of his life. I believe it. But let me ask you something. I mean, is he going to do something besides jab, teep, and run?
No.
We've never seen it.
Okay, so he can have abs. Does that mean that all of a sudden he's got one-hitter quitter power? Does that mean that, like, to me, having abs isn't going to change the fact that he's going to jab, teep, and run. And jabbing, teeping, and running is not enough to beat Fluffy Hernandez. To beat Fluffy Hernandez, I mean, you got to be able to look, Sean can grapple. We know that he can grapple, but can he grapple at this pace? We're talking double-digit takedown attempts, which you don't see in the middleweight division. I can go on about this, gentlemen, but yeah, I just simply think that jabbing and running is not the style required to beat Fluffy. I mean, if Fluffy decides that, hey, I don't want to wrestle today, I want to stand in the pocket with Sean Strickland, I'm not saying Fluffy can't win that, but I'm just saying that'll give Strickland every opportunity to come out here and win. But that's not how Fluffy fights. So yeah,
we've also never seen that. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, co-main event of the evening in the welterweight division. We got Geoff Neal, 16-7, taking on Uros Medic, who's 12-3. Currently, they got it Geoff Neal minus 220. The comeback on Uros Medic is plus 185. So Geoff is 35. He's no longer the young prospect. He's 35. Uros is 32. Uros 2 inches taller at 6'1", but it's Geoff Neal that has a 4-inch reach advantage at 75 inches of reach. So shout out Geoff Neal, man. I mean, listen, he's been very candid in the past week or two. He's opened up about his struggles. None of us are perfect. We all go through things. So I admire his honesty, his bravery, and all that. The fact that he overcame what he went through. You're the man. But as far as just analyzing fighters goes, I haven't seen a prime Geoff Neal since pre-2020, guys. And I mean, I remember the Geoff Neal that put a clinic on Belal Muhammad. I remember the Geoff Neal that was on that big win streak that was a win or two away from a UFC title shot. And since he had a ridiculous health scare, I mean, we're talking sepsis, congenital heart failure, and then you throw in a cocaine and alcohol addiction to the mix. I mean, guys, now it makes sense why the guy can't, string wins together. Now it makes sense why he's having 50-50 fights with the ghost of Santiago Ponzinibbio. Now it makes sense why you're seeing a guy like Geoff Neal get finished multiple times inside the octagon, which had never happened before. Now on the other side with Uros Medic, he's a guy that's also had to pay dues. He came up from 155 pounds. He's starting to fill into his frame at 170, and he's the definition of a kill or be killed fighter. There's no in-betweens with Uros Medic. He's either going to take you out or he's going to go out on a shield, and that's just the bottom line. Historically speaking, Geoff Neal wins this fight, but the question I have for you, Brady, is can this Far Cry version of Geoff Neal still come out here and beat Uros Medic?
Yeah, first of all, I think this is a phenomenal fight. I see why they made this the co-main event. I think this is the most violent fight on the entire card. You have Neal, they call him hands of steel for a reason. You got Uros Medic with a 100% finish rate and both his wins and his losses. And yeah, that's interesting because, I've heard in the past, Neal does struggle with the alcohol and, all that. So it's good to see him go out there and, get sober and all that. But I got to go Neal here. I got to go sober Geoff Neal on this one. Medic, he's dangerous, but I also think he's very hittable, and I also think he's a little bit chinny. And I know Geoff Neal just got knocked out, but he got knocked out by Carlos Praches with a spinning back elbow that would have knocked out 99.9% of the division. So I don't think Geoff Neal's like chinny. I think Geoff Neal's a lot more durable, and I think both these guys are going to land. I just kind of think Geoff Neal's going to be able to take it a little bit more, and I think Geoff Neal's more defensively sound. And I've seen Medic get dropped by like Gilbert Urbina. So I'm going Neal here, but this is one of those fights I was talking about where I think somebody's going to get stretchered out. They're going to bring in the smelling salts, and I think they're going to have to wake up Uros Medic in the first round. But I'm rooting for violence here. I'm rooting for the fans to have a fun and exciting fight.
Yeah, they're going to have to bring out the flashlight in his eye. Rain Man, what do you think? Because listen, have you been impressed with, from time to time, you'll see glimpses of the old Geoff Neal, like in that Vicente Luque fight, but it's just, he's so inconsistent. And can you make the argument that Medic is catching him at the right time?
So the question is, are we getting a sober Geoff Neal, like a better version of him, or a sober Geoff Neal like Sean O'Malley versus Merab number 2?
And before you go, that's a good point, because like John Jones used to talk about how he would get wasted the week before his title fights just to kind of give him like a little bit of an out in case he loses. And then
remember that?
And then when he got sober for a little bit, not forever, but for a little bit, he had those terrible performances against like OSP and Dominic Reyes and Thiago Santos. It's like, hey, John, get back on the blow, kid. So do you think a sober Geoff Neal is going to actually be better, or do you think he probably needs to get back to using again?
Right. We might need to give him a line before the fight. So, I mean, the way I see this, man, we got a, sober Geoff Neal versus a guy from Alaska. Alaskan fighters.
He's Serbian, first of all, but I got you.
Didn't he? I mean, he trained, like, he did all his training in Alaska and came out the Alaska regional scene, right?
Yeah, but it's been a while. But yeah, he's not from Alaska. He fought a few times in Alaska. He lives in California for like the last half decade.
Anyway, for somebody coming out of Alaska, I think he's overachieved, and he's been in the UFC longer than I thought he would be in the UFC. I credit that to his very exciting style of fighting. I mean, the guy, every fight, I think every single fight he's won has been a knockout, and every loss he's had has been inside the distance. So basically, the guy is just, exciting style, man. This is what the fans want to see. They want to see guys fighting like Uros Medic and Terrence McKinney and, those one-round guys. I think this is a super high variable fight, man. Like, if these guys fight, 10 times, I want to say, like, maybe Geoff Neal wins 6 of them and Uros Medic wins 4. I do think Geoff Neal is, I do think he should be the favorite. One thing I noticed is that, man, the gap in competition for these two fighters is probably as wide as it can get, man. Like, Geoff Neal's fought Murderers Row, and, Uros Medic is getting dropped by Gilbert Urena 2 fights ago. Yeah, man, I have to side with Geoff Neal here. So, an interesting fact I saw about Geoff Neal, did you guys know every single fighter he's lost, or his last 5 fights he lost, were to number 9 in the rankings, and now he's fighting number 19 in the rankings? I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, so I'm gonna go Geoff Neal for sure. I mean, I can't put money on Uros Medic, man.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you guys, because historically speaking, Geoff Neal should win this fight. He should be favored. It's just, do you really want to play him at minus 200 something odds when you know that he's been inconsistent for, I know that time flies, especially since 2020. It seems like we're kind of in a time warp, but you guys know that shit was 6 years ago. So what I'm trying to say is that he's been inconsistent, hasn't looked like a prime Geoff Neal in over half a decade. So, and now he's 35, and I don't know, because if Uros didn't get dropped by an Urbina, brother, I'd be a lot more confident. But how confident do I need to be at plus 185 odds? And again, it would only be like a 1-unit shot if I were to take it. Most likely I'm going to pass on this fight altogether, because, it's one of those things you don't come back from, getting dropped by an Urbina, brother. But yeah, I mean, Geoff should historically be fast enough, but I just haven't seen that Geoff Neal in a while. And I just don't trust him with my money. So best of luck to y'all.
How about cardio?
How about cardio?
Like, I mean, if this goes past round 1, I feel like Geoff Neal probably kills him.
Does he, though? I mean, he's the one that's been getting finished in fights that go down the stretch. Then again, I mean, it's Shavkat, so, you can give him.
Yeah, and Carlos Pratas.
Yeah. And also, I feel like Geoff Neal has had to pace himself because of those health issues he's had. Like, I just don't see the same guy who, again, was schooling Bilal deep into the 3rd round and all these things. Like, I feel like that guy, you'll never see that guy ever again. But the question is, kind of like with Nikita Krylov and Modestas Bukauskas, can a diminished version of Geoff Neal still beat Uros Medic anyways? Because you're not going to look me in the eye with a straight face and tell me the Krylov that fought Modestas Bukauskas was a prime Krylov. I thought Krylov looked awful. I just thought that Modestas Bukauskas looked worse, So that to me is kind of the dynamic here. When I have this many questions, I got to go with the underdog. And I mean, I know it's an unpopular pick. So what? Let's see what happens. So I'm gonna go Uros Medic to upset a sober Geoff Neal.
Kind of a coin flip fight, man. Like I said, it's a super high variable fight. Like, Uros Medic is kill or be killed, man. So who's to say he's not going to come out and kill Geoff Neal round 1, and you're getting, plus 180 instead of a minus 220 or whatever.
What's
the under? Because Geoff Neal said he was going to knock out Uros in the 1st round.
It's like minus 175 right now.
Okay, so the under is better than the Geoff Neal money line, number-wise.
For sure. There you go.
I'd rather play that than minus 220 on Neal.
Now they're going to stare at each other. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hope not, man. I hope not.
All right, let's see. Next up, featured bout in the featherweight division. We got a matchup between Dan 100 Grand Ige. That's his new nickname. I mean, he called himself 50K Ige. He barely got any bonuses. But anyways, I digress. He's 19-10, taking on Melquizael Costa, who's 25-7. Currently, they got a Melky Costa minus 210. The comeback on Dan 100 Grand Ige is plus 180. Dan 100 Grand is 6 years older at 34, 3 inches shorter at 5'7". Both men have a 71-inch reach. So Dan Ige, solid journeyman, solid gatekeeper. You have to be on a certain level to beat a guy like Dan Ige. He's a tough Hawaiian warrior, knockout power in both hands, and he's had close competitive fights with some of the best guys in the world, Leron Murphy, Diego Lopez. But I feel like the common theme, or the theme there, is that like he loses all these fights, so like he'll fight close with real guys, but he's not going to win any of these fights, right? But from time to time, he will set back a prospect. Like, I was legit surprised he beat Sean Woodson. I thought Sean Woodson, with that reach and that height and that boxing for MMA ability, I thought he was going to tune Dan Ige up. But let me say this. The blueprint on how to beat Dan Ige has been established for years. You must pick this man apart at range, which Costa very good with his kicks, longer man here. Or if you can mix in takedowns and get to the back of Ige, you're not going to submit a guy like Dan Ige, but you can ride out the position and win rounds that way, like Korean Zombie did, like Diego Lopez did. So I like a streaking Mel Costa because he's a guy that on his regional scene, he had an extensive run. It's not like this guy came to the UFC 6-0, 7-0, and has had to get his feet wet. This guy came into the UFC and was already ready and really paid some serious dues, had his ups, had his downs, has gotten embarrassed inside the octagon, and now he's on that win streak. Now he's crushing grapes. Now it's time to drink the wine. The question, Rain Man, is will he drink that wine Saturday night in Houston, Texas?
Man, he has all the tools to do it. I've been watching some like interviews of Dan Ige lately, and dude, like there's some fire in Dan Iggy's eyes, man. Like he wants to beat the shit out of this kid. So I think he might catch Melquizael Costa. I always want to call him Mezekiel Costa for some reason. Melquizael Costa. Yeah, man. I mean, if Melquizael Costa comes out here and kind of tries to, he needs to take the space away from Dan Ige, man. He needs to get on his back. He needs to get on top of him and just kill some time because, yeah, like if he spends too much time in front of Dan Ige, I mean, again, dude, he's only got 4 bonuses in his career. Back to your point where he calls himself 50K, but he hasn't got that many bonuses. I mean, 4 bonuses is still a lot, but not compared to how many fights he's had. But yeah, Dan Ige is not somebody you want to take a punch from, man. Like that dude, he folds dudes when he connects. Like they look different when they get hit by Dan Ige. So yeah, I think Melquizael Costa has all the tools to win. Like match the output on the feet, and shoot a takedown, try to get his back, and kill the rest of the round. So where you guys were kind of even in striking, but you controlled him for 2 minutes. Of course, you're going to get the round there, and that's historically how people have beat Dan Ige. And yeah, this is a big step up for Melquizael Costa, but Dan Ige is definitely like, declining and on his way out. So yeah, it's such a hard fight for me to call, man. Just seeing the fire in Dan Iggy's eyes in these interviews, like he's like, I'm 100 grand. I'm Dan Ige, the 100 grand man. Like he's fully like invested in this 100 grand nickname and wants to get a KO and get that 100 grand. So I also think that might be his demise, because if he really goes for round 1 and Melquizael Costa takes his back, and it's going to be kind of disheartening for him to not be able to swing. I don't know, man. Very tough fight to call. I kind of want to go with Dan Ige, man. I kind of think Dan Ige might just catch him. Like I've never been so high on Melquizael Costa.
Okay. I mean, if you really do think it's a 50-50 fight, then plus 180 is no brainer as far as your take is concerned. Brady, what do you think about Melk's current run, and how do you think he compares to a Dan Ige who, let's be honest, he's dangerous, but he's been clearly figured out?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of interesting to hear that like he's hungry and stuff, because I didn't see any hunger in the Pitbull fight. Like that was a really bizarre performance. Kind of got dog walked by 40-year-old Pitbull. Got hurt really badly in that fight. Almost like that was the first time he's almost been finished. Just a really bad look. It kind of just looked like he didn't want to be there. So maybe if he shows up and shows like some urgency and pressures and he needs to land something big. Let's face it, Dan Ige is just not a good minute winner. This guy's lost like 10 decisions throughout his career. And I think Mel Costa is just going to be doing a lot more. Dan Ige is going to drop rounds. I think Dan Ige has to catch Mel Costa, and it could happen. But after his last performance, I just don't have a ton of faith in Dan Ige. I like Dan Ige. I'm rooting for him, but I kind of just lean towards Mel Costa, picking him apart at distance, mixing in the occasional takedowns, winning the minutes, and probably winning decision. And yeah, I think it could be close. I think Dan Ige can have some moments, but I do think Mel Costa is getting Dan Ige at the right time. I think Mel Costa is on his way up. He's on a 5-fight winning streak. And I think Dan Ige might be starting to go on his way down. 34 years old, has almost 30 fights, has taken a lot of damage. So I think it's probably a Mel Costa decision here.
True or false, Brady? Dan Ige is 4-7 in his last 11 fights.
Sounds true.
It is true. And wait, you got to make your sound.
Oh,
the thing about this, gentlemen, like I said about Mel Costa, a guy that came into the UFC with double-digit fights under his belt. And I even felt like on his regional scene, like there was kind of something missing. Like he had like the talent, the skills, but he just was missing that extra oomph and emphasis. And I feel like since he's come to the UFC, got the Thiago Moises and the Steve Garcia fights out the way, now you're starting to see that him kind of fill up the in-betweens that I've wanted to see. What's been missing is not really missing anymore. And I love to see that. I love it when a guy not just pays dues, but matures and develops into their own. And again, you're not dealing with some 8-0 guy where it's a long road. We're talking about the top 15 of the featherweight division, gentlemen. This ain't heavyweight where a guy can literally make his debut and be ranked in the top 15. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you make it to this point at featherweight, that means you've been doing something right. And the blueprint has simply been laid out on how to beat Dan Ige. I mean, that doesn't mean that Dan Ige is not just going to come out here and knock out Mel Costa. He does hit that hard. Melk has been put down before, but Melk has the tools to win this fight. Keep it long range. Use those kicks. If it goes to the ground, try to scramble to the back, try to maintain position, bank 2 of the rounds, give everyone a heart attack in the third, almost get finished, but survive, win a 29-28. And I think that's what's going to happen. But also, I know this might be kind of controversial, and maybe it's not going to happen this fight, maybe soon. I think that Dan Ige is getting close to his first finish loss. I know, crazy, right? He's a Hawaiian warrior. He's ultra durable. I mean, you remember back in the Julio Arce fight where like the guy's got one eye completely closed and he's still marching forward. I mean, that's how tough Dan Ige is. That's the kind of respect you got to show a guy like that. The guy that took the Diego Lopez fight on fight day. You understand what I'm saying? So he's the man. But I remember another Hawaiian warrior who was actually a legendary Hawaiian warrior named BJ Penn. And the whole thing was never been knocked down, never been knocked out until he got knocked down and knocked out. I remember another legendary Hawaiian warrior named Max Holloway. Never been knocked down, never been knocked out until he got knocked down and knocked out. And now he's been dropped his last 3 fights in a row. So eventually it's going to happen to Dan Ige if he sticks around long enough. That's just the bottom line, especially with his fighting style where take one to give one, So I'm not going to be surprised by anything, but my gut's telling me 29-28 unanimous decision for Melky Costa. So that's going to be my pick, gentlemen.
That third round's going to be really exciting, man. If Dan Ige's still there, like pissed off because Melquizael Costa's just been hugging him from the back. So, like Melquizael Costa does get tired in the third round too. I don't know, man. That's going to be a really fun fight to watch.
For sure. Everyone in the chat, y'all are hilarious with your comments. Do me a huge favor. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment, and make sure you follow my guest. I mean, Brady with Stats Diggers, DFS by the numbers, Rain Man, we have picks. You already know the deal, so give them some love. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Sergey Spivak, he's 17-6, taking out Ante Delaya, who's 26-7. Currently, they got it. Ante Delaya minus 135. The comeback on Sergey Spivak is plus 115. Ante is 4 years older at 35. Both men 6'3". Both men have a 78-inch reach. So tough one, gentlemen, because like Sergey is one of these guys that I'm not the best at calling his fights. Sometimes the guy's going to go out there and the way he looked against Derek Lewis, like a world beater, the way he competed against Waldo really surprised me. But then other times, like people are not just going to like beat him, they're going to walk through him. Did you all see what Walt Harris did to him in his debut? You seen what some of these other guys did to him? We're going to get to this highlight reel in a sec. You're going to see how dirty of a fighter Cyril Gane is. Cyril Gane kicks him, knees him in the balls, and then hammer fists him in the back of the head. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, with Sergey, I just can't figure it out because he definitely belongs in the UFC. Let's not bullshit, okay? I feel like his jab's been getting better. Obviously, he's always been known for those high amplitude throws, and he's the polar bear. He's super heavy on top. And Ante Delaya, one thing I think that's going to work for him in this matchup is the punches in bunches. This guy will go out there, and he doesn't care who you are, where you're from, what your association is. He's going to go out there, draw a line in the sand, back you up against that fence, and tee off on you until either you go down or until the ref gets in the way, calls it an eye poke, makes him fight again after he thought he won, and then he gets knocked out in the first round. But in all seriousness, Ante is a killer be killed fighter. I think he's the more well-rounded guy here, but both guys are kind of flaky. Both guys I kind of don't trust. I just trust Spivak less. So for that reason, I'm gonna go Ante Delaya to not just beat Sergey Spivak, but to come out here and knock him out in the very first round, Brady.
Yeah, I mean, this guy Spivak, he's just so inconsistent. Like you said, on his best day, like this guy looks incredible. Like that performance he had against Derek Lewis, ran right through Derek Lewis. I mean, even Jailton Almeida couldn't finish Derek Lewis in 25 minutes. You know, Spivak did it in 3. We saw him go out there and just dog walk Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, Jared Vandera. And then there's other times where he shows up and it's like, did this guy even train for the fight? I mean, Spivak looks awful. He looks uninterested. He looks like he just woke up. He doesn't want to be there. And it shows in his performance. He goes out there and gets folded in the first round. And that's kind of what I lean towards happening here. Because I don't think
look. You just need him in the balls, hammer fist him in the back of the head. Like, what the fuck? Cyril Gane's so dirty, guys. I keep going.
No, he is dirty. He is dirty. But that was a horrible performance from Spivak in that fight. It's like he didn't even try to take down Cyril Gane. And in some fights, he didn't even try to take down his opponent. Who's to say he won't even try to take down D'Elia here? But even if he does, like, I don't think he's going to have an easy time taking down Ante D'Elia. I think D'Elia has much better takedown defense than a Lewis, than a Sakai, than a Greg Hardy, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of think it's a bad matchup in a sense for Spivak. If he's able to get the grappling going, sure. I just don't think he's going to be able to. It's going to be that easy. And if he's not able to get this fight down to the ground, like you said, Dan, this guy D'Elia, he's going to come forward. He's going to pressure. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to throw volume, and he's going to throw hard. And Spivak hates all of that. I mean, this guy Spivak got knocked out by Jailton Almeida. Like, how does that happen? So I got to go D'Elia. I think it's early. I think he probably overwhelms Spivak, but sometimes Spivak shows up and looks like $1 million. This could be the time, but I got to go D'Elia here to get the job done.
You know what I'm looking forward to, Brady?
What's that?
The Spivak versus Jailton Almeida rematch in PFL. Rain Man, who you got in this fight?
Man, I'm kind of surprised to hear you said you haven't called Spivak's fights well, Dan. Like, his losses are to Waldo Cortez Acosta, Jailton Almeida, Cyril Gane, Tom Aspinall, and I feel like those are all like pretty easy picks against Spivak, and like his wins against like
all those guys. Don't worry, I picked all those guys.
Yeah, and then like I think I bet him to beat Marcin Tybura, Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, like a 48-year-old Alexei Olenek, Jared Vandera, one of the worst to ever do it. Like it seems like it looks like he beats who he's supposed to and kind of loses to who he's supposed to up till now. What did you guys think about that Waldo Cortez Acosta fight? I kind of thought Spivak won that fight and got robbed.
But see, that's another one where like I thought Waldo was just gonna walk through him, and then all of a sudden Spivak's competing. It's like the way I thought it was gonna go down. Yeah, I picked Waldo, but like the way I thought it was gonna go down was drastically different than how it actually played out. Right.
I actually had a bet on Spivak that fight and lost. And I remember I pulled over and I watched all 3 rounds. And as soon as the fight was over, I felt pretty confident. I banked 2 rounds and I started driving again and I had the volume on and I heard I lost. I was like, what the fuck? I just got robbed. But I mean, I don't know. And I kind of feel like this fight could be similar to that one. I feel like Spivak could have some success, but it's more success in like holding Ante Delija, whereas Ante Delija is going to land the better shots. So it might look like Spivak is winning minutes, but Ante Delija, lands more damage and probably gets the nod, man. So the way I looked at this fight is one of these guys spend almost their entire career in PFL, and one of them spend their entire career in UFC. And personally, I have to side with the guy that spent his career in the UFC. So I'm going to go with Spivak, man, to just do a little bit more and just take away Ante Delicia's main weapon, which is punches and bunches. How do you do that? Hold him against the cage. Take him down. If you're on your back, you can't throw bunches and punches. So, yeah, man, I'm going to go Spivak here.
Okay, but I mean, with that line of thinking, though, I mean, Marcin Tybura spent his whole career in the UFC. Ante Delija spent his whole career in PFL. What happened when they fought?
How old's Marcin Tybura when they fought?
Like 108.
Yeah, how really? Yeah, Marcin Tybura's 40, man. I mean, yeah, he was 40 years old when he fought Ante Delija, man. That's, Spivak's in his prime, dude. Spivak's like 33 years old.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not gonna get an argument from me on that one. So,
oh, sorry, Spivak's 31 years old, dude. How, guys? Damn, what the hell? Did you guys know Spivak was 31 years old? I didn't even know he was 31 years old till I just double checked. I mean, I'm sure I've seen that, many, and he just turned 31 January 24th. So this dude's just becoming a man, Yeah, I'm gonna side with Spivak, man.
Okay, I dig it. So before we talk about the next fight, I just got to give a quick shout out to Bet 105. If you're looking for a sports book that doesn't limit winners or play games when it's time to get paid, then you need to check out my friends at bet105.ag. Super high limits so you can get down whatever you want on any sport. And when it's time to get paid, no KYC, no stupid games, no stupid prizes. They're not going to send you a verification code. Then by the time you type it in, it's already expired. So as you know, we're back in Texas. Texas is known for some of the worst officiating in the history of the sport. And we already had what's a front runner for the worst decision of the year on that Australia card. So Bet 105 are going to offer split decision insurance. Your fighter wins a split decision, no big deal. You get paid out. It is what it is. But your fighter loses that split decision. Bet 105 are going to give you 25% of your money back. Hey, that's a lot better than nothing, especially considering the state of judging in modern day MMA. So my friends, go to bet105.ag, use my promo code HalfTheBattle, deposit $100 and get a $50 free bet at bet105.ag using my promo code HalfTheBattle. Now let's get back to the show. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Jacobe Smith. He's 11-0. Welcoming Josiah Harrell to the UFC, who is also 11-0. Currently, they got a Jacobe Smith minus 270. The comeback on Josiah Harrell is plus 230. Jacobe 30. Josiah is 27. The scorecards in this fight will be 30-27. Jacobe's 5'10. Josiah is 5'7. And Jacobe's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage of 72 inches of reach. So really interesting matchup. I guess my question for you, Brady, is are you familiar with Josiah Harrell? Because he originally got signed in the UFC a few years back, but he had like a brain surgery, which I'm not a doctor. I don't know shit. So to me, that already sounds sketchy, but maybe they fixed whatever was wrong with him and now he's good. Like I assume they did if like the UFC cleared this guy and like let him, come back, because if there was even a remote chance that, something could go wrong there, I don't think they'd even give this guy the time of day. So the fact that they brought him back, I'm going to just go ahead and put the health concerns on the back burner. So now the question is, how do they match up and how do you rate Josiah Harrell as a prospect?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good, actually. I remember taping him for the Jack Della Maddalena fight, and he was like a big dog. He was like plus 400, plus 450 against Jack Della, and rightfully so. And it was a very, very tough debut. Kind of felt bad for the guy. And then now he's getting another very tough debut against a very highly touted prospect in Jacobe Smith. And yeah, Smith's really good. I mean, this guy, and by the way, was saw some pictures of Smith out there on X today. This guy looks to be in the best shape of his life, in incredible shape. And yeah, he seems to be taking this fight very seriously. This was actually supposed to be Jacobe Smith versus Sunguk Ko, which I thought was a phenomenal fight. Actually, the fight I was looking forward to the most on this card. So maybe we can run that one back in the future. But yeah, I mean, Harrell's taking this fight on pretty short notice here. And I think he's going to struggle, pretty mightily early. The question is, if Smith is not able to get Harrell out of there, what's his fight going to look like late second, third round? Because Smith in that price fight, he did start to slow down. It did get a little bit sloppy in there. So I think Smith probably wins this fight, and whether he finishes Harrell early or whether he wins at least 2 out of the 3 rounds. I lean Smith's way. I don't know if I like the minus 300, to be honest. This is a fight that I'm not touching from a betting perspective, but I'll take Smith to get it done. But I don't think Harrell's some bum by any means, and I think the odds kind of reflect that because, Smith's not like minus 1,000 here. So give me Smith, but not as confident as the line indicates here.
Brady, who did you say again Harrell was supposed to fight a few years back in the UFC?
Jack Della.
Hey, okay, like damn. And I mean, just looking at those highlights, the kid's obviously well-rounded. And does anyone know what his wrestling credentials are? Because I saw those suplexes. I saw him running a dude through the cage door. Like, damn, like, okay. I doubt it's Jacobe Smith wrestling credentials, but clearly this guy spent some time on the mat. So if anyone in the comments knows, let me know what Josiah Harrell's wrestling credentials are, because they're obviously pretty serious. Rain Man, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, man, I don't think they're doing this Josiah Harrell guy any favors, man. Coming back from brain surgery and, giving him Jacobe Smith and canceled fights with JDM. I don't know. I think Smith's minus 270 price tag is because he has a knockout and a submission in his first 2 UFC fights. Taking on a guy in Josiah Harrell that's we don't really know too much about him, man. I mean, he looks really good on the regional scene, but he's at the UFC now. Personally, I'm going to go with Jacobe Smith. I'm not parlaying him up or anything, but I'd like to see these guys, fight and get a better read on Josiah Harrell for the future.
So, Floor Guy says, Ohio high school wrestler, played football. Okay, so this guy's just like naturally athletic, been playing sports his whole life, and is just like cut out for this. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm gathering from this. And speaking of being cut out for this, I mean, this dude Jacobe Smith is an absolute freak of nature. And I heard, it's funny you mentioned, Brady, about the picture we saw today of his physique, which is absolutely insane. I heard this guy's not even that hard of a worker. Like, I heard that he's one of these like prodigy phenoms that like doesn't even show up to the gym sometimes because he can just go get his run in at his house. He can get his lift in his garage and all these things. And in normal circumstances, I'm like, oh, that is the biggest red flag I've ever heard. But I think that this is like one of those 1%ers. But that being said, that could all be talk, because when you get a physique like that, yeah, I know some of it is, he's born with it, but the rest of it is he worked his fucking ass off to get into that kind of shape. You know what I'm saying? So, and also to have the wrestling pedigree and the, just the techniques that he brings to the table, that's also not something that, you just sit on the couch playing some video games and all of a sudden you're blessed with that. This guy's been putting in the work. So what I'm hoping from his perspective, because I understand what the criticisms are, the guy goes balls to the wall and he might fatigue as fights progress. That's just the bottom line. With a physique like that, with his fighting style, it is what it is. You go 100 miles per hour, it's only science that the gas tank is going to dwindle. So I see why people are making arguments about, hey, maybe Harrell can weather an early storm and late second, third round, he can start to take over, maybe a live bet situation. But I'm taking a wait and see approach with Harrell as far as I do think he's going to win UFC fights. Let's not bullshit about that. It's just, do I think he's, the kind of prospect that a guy like Jacobe Smith is? I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying I need to take a wait and see approach. And this fight's going to let me know exactly where he stands. Whereas I have a good feeling about where I think Jacobe Smith is. And I think Jacobe Smith's going to get past this one. I think every single fight, you're going to see incremental improvements. You might have to see a setback at some point. No one is exempt from that first L. And a setback might be the best thing to ever happen to him. But I think Saturday night in Houston, Texas, it's Josiah Harrell that's going to take his first ever defeat. So give me Jacobe Smith to come out here and win this fight, gentlemen.
So both these guys are suplexing dudes in the highlights. Like which of them do you think is more likely to suplex the other one?
I would see. Here's my thing. I think it would be an ego thing if Smith got taken down. I think if Smith got taken down, that would be like, oh no, you didn't type ordeal. Like you did not just take me down. It's like taking. I'm not trying to. Okay, I'm going to mention Cormier, so someone's gonna be like, did you just compare this guy to a 2-weight world champion? No, I'm comparing the styles, guys. Okay, please. But like, if you take down a guy like Cormier, that's like, remember when Alexander Gustafsson took down Cormier? It was like, oh shit, a Swedish guy took down the Olympian, you know what I mean? Like, so Josiah Harrell, even though, yeah, he's got some wrestling credentials, he just doesn't have Jacobe Smith wrestling credentials. If Josiah Harrell gets a takedown or two, that is like, you know, Jacobe Smith's homeboys aren't going to let him live that down. Let me just tell it to you like that. But yeah, I think Jacobe Smith's more likely to get more takedowns.
Right. Same.
Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Zach Reese, he's 10-2, taking on Mr. Boats and Hose, Michel Pereira, 31-14. Currently, they got a Michel Pereira -150. The comeback on Zach Reese is +130. Michel's allegedly 32, but I need to see some identification. I need to see some papers on that because I don't believe it. Zach Reese is 31. Zach Reese, 3 inches taller at 6'4", and has a 4-inch reach advantage at 77 inches of reach. So, Brady, I definitely respect your theory about the Boats and Hose. My only thing is that when you watch that Fluffy fight, I also acknowledge that Fluffy definitely took his soul. And then you see the subsequent fights against Abus and Kyle Dawkins. Like, look, no shame in losing to Abus Magomedov. That's a solid fighter. It's how he lost. He lost like a guy that had his soul removed from him. And then you go out there with Kyle Dawkins, who, you know, went 2-4 in his first UFC stint and like is not known for knocking anything out. And he knocks him out in under a minute. You're like, oh, okay. So I have 40 minutes of footage that shows me Michel Pereira might have lost his soul, and we have no evidence he's retrieved it. So yeah, in historical terms, Pereira wins this fight. He's got a lot more experience. He's beat the better level of competition. But I got to give Zach Reese some credit, guys. He's someone that came into the UFC at only 6-0, 7-0. He was a literal kid. He's had to go through the ups and downs. He's taken some brutal losses. People will hold against the Bakoyev and the Brundage loss. And on normal terms, a Brundage loss is terrible. But the thing about it is, you lost to Brundage when you had less than 10 pro fights. Brundage was significantly more experienced than you. So to me, that's just, I chalk that down to the game. You know, you got to give that up to the game. It is what it is. But what I do like is in Zach Reese's most recent fight against Jackson McVeigh. Now, people thought that fight was ugly, and it was. But let me tell you what I liked from Zach Reese's perspective. What I liked was that, number one, he took it on a week's short notice. Number two, that was the first time where Zach Reese was no longer the young up-and-coming prospect. It was McVeigh who was the prospect trying to make a name for himself, and Reese, for once, was the young vet. And I liked how Reese overcame the adversity and then went out there and finished the fight. And with Reese, since he's got such, you know, limited experience, you're gonna be seeing these big leaps every single time. And one thing that's remained consistent from his early regional days to now is this guy is a kill or be killed fighter. He is an opportunistic finisher. With Michel Pereira, his best weapons from range, that front kick, that stabbing teep, oh my God, it's like a dagger, you know? Heavy punches, decent takedowns. I'm glad he moved up to 85s, but I don't know if his soul has been recovered. Now, you don't have to sing, Brady. You're allowed to, you know, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't want to, tell me if this guy, Michel Pereira, does he have any debts left over? Has his soul been retrieved? Does it even matter? Is this a Krylov versus Bukauskas situation? But Bukauskas was the guy that was -185. It's not Reese that's like, you know, the big favorite here. So I'm just saying, Reese is the underdog, as he should be in historical terms. But is he catching Michel Pereira at the right time is my big question.
Yeah, this fight is probably the toughest fight on the card to call, because like if we were getting the best version of Michel Pereira, if we were getting like even a 75% version of Michel Pereira, like he sparks Zachary, like it's not even competitive. He goes out there and he probably finishes him within the first 60 seconds. The problem is, yeah, I mean, either his soul's gone, or to me, it looks like he's just betting on his opponents in some of these fights. I mean, that Abus fight was terrible. You know, not only the performance in the cage was awful, he did nothing over the course of 15 minutes, but the dance routine was horrible as well. We have never seen a dance routine that bad from Michel Pereira either. So the dance routines are bad nowadays. The performances are bad. And then you go out there and you get sparked by the Darce Knight, Kyle Dawkins. In what world is that ever happening? You know, and It just can't really look past that. So if I knew for a fact that we were getting, the best version of Michel Pereira or somewhere near it, I probably max bet Michel Pereira at -155. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think we're getting that best version or anywhere near it. He looks uninterested. I think he's focused on things outside of fighting. This guy's almost 50 fights. He's taken a lot of damage, and it doesn't look like he really cares anymore. And if he doesn't care anymore, I know someone that does, and that's Zach Reese. So I lean Zach Reese, but I don't think Zach Reese is that great. I think he's very hittable. I think he's a little bit chinny. But I think he cares. So give me Zach Reese to get it done. And then he probably knocks out Michel Pereira in the first round. Like, if you're getting knocked out by Kyle Dawkins, Reese has a lot of power as well. So give me Reese to get it done. And for Red Sox fan, I'll give you a little something I've been working on here. Whoa, 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 baby girl, baby mama, what's your name? What's your number? Oh, girl. There you go.
Hey, can we get a round of applause for Brady? Come on,
There
man.
you go.
Hey, so, a lot of people were saying, well, I mean, Zach Reese had a 50-50. He won a 50-50 fight versus Dusko. And you're right. He did win a 50-50 fight versus Dusko. Let me ask you something. What happened when Michel Pereira fought Dusko?
I forget.
He got knocked what out in the first round.
Oh, that's right. Outside the UFC.
Yeah, correct. Anyways, I don't like to do the MMA math thing. It's just I was hearing a lot of people, their main argument was he went life and death with Dusko. I'm like, okay, true, you got me there, but what happened when Michel fought Dusko? Anyways, Rain Man, talk to me. What's going on? What you think?
Man, I can't get the way Jackson McVeigh was beating Zach Reese's ass round one out of my head, man. All I keep thinking is if Jackson McVeigh didn't gas out, like, he was about to win that fight. And just looking at Zach Reese's wins, man, I mean, you kind of talked about it, like, no contest versus Cedric Dumas, beat Jose Medina, beat a terrible version of Julian Marquez, lost to Cody Brundage. And I know you said Cody Brundage had a lot more experience when they fought, but what about the fact that Jackson McVeigh was, making his debut that day and almost took him out?
His debut was against Bruno Ferreira.
Oh, my bad. All right, good correction. Yeah, man, I mean, look, bottom line is I've been watching Michel Pereira like spar versus Sean Strickland, and just the way he looks in those sparring matches versus Sean Strickland, I feel like that's enough to knock Zach Reese out. So, simply put, I'm going to go with Michel Pereira this fight, man. I think if he's like 50% motivated and even 50% of himself, it's enough to handle Zach Reese.
I think both of you guys bring valid points to the table. Again, my defense of Zach Reese, firstly, look at this. This is the kind of shit we were dealing with. He was 6-0, 7-0 coming to the UFC. When you have that much limited experience, you're going to have some ugly setbacks. The UFC is the best of the best, and you're coming in there with less than 10 pro fights. I mean, that's just how it goes. That's why when we talk about a guy like Melquizael Costa, who came to the UFC with like 20 fights under his belt, that's why he's had less than 10 UFC fights, and he's already, fighting for a top 15 spot. Whereas Zach Reese has had to, really go the blue collar route. And you love to see it, man. And I like the fact that he's picked himself back up from the setbacks. And the Jackson McVeigh fight, I got to give you credit, Rain Man. You bring a valid point. Look, this early going in the clinch, he was definitely going through it. But on one hand, Michel Pereira's best weapons are not in the clinch. And on the other hand, Zach took this fight literally on fight week to save, to basically give Jackson McVeigh a fight and to get himself a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? But I like these experiences that he's gone through. And I feel like hopefully now we're going to start to see those incremental improvements and see a better, more confident version of him. And if Michel Pereira's soul has not been retrieved from that fateful evening with Fluffy Hernandez and then the Abus Magomedov fight, then Kyle Dawkins, who's not known for knocking anything out, knocked him out. Like I said, we have 40 minutes of footage. Like when we talked about Krylov and Bukauskas, Krylov, one can make the argument Krylov simply got caught against Bogdan Gustav and against Dominic Reyes, where There's no Michel Pereira simply got caught against Fluffy or Abus. And yeah, you could be like, well, what would Fluffy and Abus do to Zach Reese? I agree. I'm not debating that. But it's like you see those fights, and then it's like, okay, well, how's he gonna bounce back from that? Oh, he gets knocked out in under a minute his very next fight. So to me, I think it's a clear sign that his soul has been long gone. But yeah, historically, Michel should win this fight. But this is a crazy sport, my friends. I'm gonna go with Zach Reese for the upset here. I wouldn't go big on it, 1 unit at most, just to keep the books honest and just to see if Michel truly is done. And if he's not, I lose a unit on it. It is what it is. You know.
Have you seen him sparring with Strickland this week?
Yeah, and with Johnny Walker, he's fucking swinging for the fences. But that's the practice room. They got headgear and shin guards on, and big gloves. But I have seen it. It looks
Man,
cool.
Johnny Walker looks awful. Holy shit. Michel Pereira was landing like 90% of, like, I know they're sparring, but Johnny Walker's just getting tagged with everything Michel Pereira was throwing. That was nuts.
Yeah, and somehow Johnny Walker didn't have one of his flamboyant reactions when he gets knocked the what out,
Yeah.
So yeah. But okay, so we got 2 on Reese. Interesting. And we got 1 on Michel Pereira. So at least either 1 or 2 of us is going to be right. Let's see, gentlemen. So next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Chidi and Njokuani. He's fighting at home in Texas. He's 25-11, taking on Carlos Leal. Shout out the GOAT Meticulous for that great picture. Leal, 22-7 is Leal. Leal is slight favorite, -125. Chidi and Njokuani is +105. Chidi, 6 years older at 37. 4 inches taller at 6'3", and a 6-inch reach advantage at 80 inches of reach. So, yeah, interesting fight, gentlemen. Chidi Njokuani, the much more technical guy here. His Muay Thai is ridiculous, super long for the weight class, as experienced as you can get. But he's kind of getting up there in age, and there has been a blueprint on how to beat him. Carlos Leal, very scary individual. You know what I mean? Like, I would not want to be in a fight with that guy. I wouldn't want to be in a fight with any UFC fighter, but I would not want to be in a dark alley with Carlos Leal either. You understand what I'm saying? But that being said, I know he kind of let a lot of people down that last fight. He was -500 that last fight. He's -125 here. And I also think that last fight was a case where, Leal had never been stopped before. I think Leal probably thought he's God's gift to fighting. He was fighting a 40-year-old who's a very dangerous guy, by the way, and he probably thought he was just going to go in there, walk him down, and knock him out right away. And when you walk a guy down who's as dangerous as Salikov with your hands down, you might get caught with a counter, and that's exactly what happened. So here, I think it comes down to the range that the fight plays out at, obviously, because long range, Chidi Njokuani, long range weapons, but up close, his clinch game is ridiculous. But in addition to the range, I think it comes down to Leal outlasting Chidi's big early attacks. And if he can start to wear on the gas tank a bit, Chidi cuts a shit ton of weight to make 170 pounds or to miss weight for 170 pounds like he's done multiple times. And now that he's 37 years old doing so, this guy back in the day when he fought in Bellator, he stopped cutting to 170 pounds because he'd like lose his voice and his hearing when he was cutting weight. But obviously, we're in a time and place now where they have the Performance Institute, and the weight cutting has gotten better for guys that use all the tools at their disposal. Not Cameron Smotherman, but yeah. So, anyways, that being said, Brady, how do you see this one going down? Who you got? What do you think about Leal not being a ridiculously big favorite like he was his last 2 fights?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have faith in Chidi and Njokuani because this line has completely crashed down over the last week and a half. And yeah, I mean, he got caught in his last fight by a 70-year-old man, and it definitely happens. But to be fair, that was the first time he's ever been knocked out. And quite frankly, I think that was the first time I've ever seen Carlos Leal hurt. Like, this guy has a brick for a head. He's next level durable. And I can't say the same thing about Chidi and Njokuani. I actually think it's the opposite. I mean, Chidi and Njokuani is the definition of a great hammer. And I think he's like one of the worst nails in the UFC. This guy has 9 finished losses, a ton of losses by submission, a ton of losses by knockout. And I say it every time Chidi fights. It's like this guy cannot battle any adversity whatsoever. If the fight's going his way. If he's in control, he's looking great. He's looking good. He can win that fight. If he eats a big shot, if he gets put on his back, if he gets put in a bad spot, if he gets hurt, the fight is over very shortly after. This guy just can't battle any adversity. It's always been that way. Inside the UFC and out, I've seen this guy quit multiple occasions, and now he's 37 years old. He should not be fighting at welterweight. I think he's missed weight like his last 3 times. He probably misses weight on Friday. I think the weight cut is absolutely taking a toll on him, on his durability. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a car crash. I think it's going to be a war. I think Leal is going to march forward like a madman. I think he's going to eat one to give one. And in that type of fight, yeah, sure, Chidi can knock him out. Sure, Chidi can land something big, as we just saw Salikov do. But I just trust Leal more. I trust Leal's cardio more. I trust his heart more. I trust his durability more. So I have to go Leal in this fight just because I've seen Njokuani quit and get finished so many times. So I think Carlos Leal goes out there and gives Chidi Njokuani his 10th finish loss of his career.
Wow. And Rain, man, before you go, to back Brady up a little bit, the not overcoming adversity is not something that's been happening recently. I mean, I remember back in Bellator when Andrei Korshkov took him down one time. And Chidi, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, by the way, couldn't get back up from bottom, just got pounded out. Then you fast forward to the UFC days. Michal Oleksiejczuk ate everything Chidi brought to the table. I mean, it got sketchy early, but once Chidi realized that, damn, this guy's not going anywhere, check, please, and similar things against Hobo Cop too. So I guess my question for you, Rain Man, Leal coming off a knockout loss, his first knockout loss. You think that he's still going to be like, fuck it, run right at Chidi? Or you think he might take a more measured approach, kind of try to, see what Chidi brings early and then try to drag it late and break the guy?
Well, not only did Carlos Leal run at Salikov, he ran at him with his left hand, like completely down. And Salikov gave him a right hand from God, man, sent him to the shadow realm. So I think Carlos Leal, the only way he loses this fight, in my opinion, is round 1. And how that could happen is, wait, first of all, did you guys know Carlos Leal's like a 3-time state champion wrestler in Brazil?
Like Raoni Barcelos. Interesting.
Right, man. So I feel like he's one of those guys that kind of fell in love with his pressure and hands. And that's what the UFC wants to see at the end of the day, man. If you're pressuring people and knocking them out, you're rising through the rankings really fast. And like you said, he thought he was God's gift to fighting and just kind of got caught, man. So the only way I see that happening this fight is if I think his path, like easiest path to winning this fight, is grappling. Obviously, like if he could take Chidi down round 1, he's gonna break him and take his soul, like how Fluffy does to some guys. And if he shoots a sloppy takedown, you see Chidi has those long knees that could just creep up through the center, man, and crack his chin. And that's probably like the only way I see him losing. Or if he gets lazy in the clinch, like it eats an elbow round 1. Outside of that, I think Carlos Leal is like such a good bet, man. I think he wins this fight like 8 out of 10 times. The line is so playable. I'll definitely be on Carlos Leal.
Damn. So you think he's minus 400 and he's only minus 125 right now?
Right.
Wow. That's bold. But anyways, the reason he thought he was God's gift to fighting, let's take a look at why this man thought he was God's gift to fighting. When you see some of these knockouts, dude, and it's not just like 1 or 2 knockouts, it's like a whole highlight reel of him just sleeping fools at all different points of his career. And he's one of these guys that when he senses that you're hurt, he's going to close the deal. Here against Delano Taylor, similar body type to Chidi Njokuani, just puts him down. And here, some of that wrestling on display, like you talked about. But again, falling in love with your hands, there's a reason why he fell in love with his hands. And it's not like one of these wrestlers who got like 1 knockout. Now they think that they're a striker. No, this guy can strike for real. The way he just set up that 2 right there, that's not something that some guy that doesn't know how to strike does. But yeah, he didn't just eat a lot of shots against, well, he only ate 1 shot against Muslim Salikov and it put him down, but he definitely ate some shots against Renat too. So he's going to eat shots here against Chidi Njokuani. Bottom line, it's just if he is tough and durable enough to get past this storm, Chidi I don't want to say once a quitter, always a quitter, but Chidi has a history of folding when someone takes the fight to him. And I think that's what Leal has the chance to do here. So assuming Leal doesn't go down in that first round, I also think that Leal could get a late first round finish, a second round finish, grind it out. But I don't think this is going all three, gentlemen. I think that someone is hitting the deck, bottom line. And I think that Saturday night in Houston, Texas, Carlos Leal is going to finish Chidi Njokuani.
Man, I just saw something really interesting when you're playing those highlights. So right before he knocked out Alex Morano, he had his hands completely down and Moreno against the cage, and Morano threw a right hook and he just ate it like nothing. And he did the same thing the next fight versus Muslim Salikov, and it put him to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, Muslim Salikov, significantly heavier hitter, but to your credit, it's like when Leal senses that you're hurt, it's like all his respect for you goes out the window, and he just goes on this Terminator berserker mode where, yeah, that's where he'd have to be worried about some kind of counter from Chidi. I'm just thinking that, hey, let's stay defensively responsible early. Once you start to see Chidi start to, the gas tank start to diminish from that brutal weight cut, and Chidi, the mental game of him realizing that, hey, this guy's still here. I hit this guy with some heavy knees, some elbows, this and that, and he's still right in front of me. Then the offense starts to wane for Chidi. That's where Leal can really, start to put it on him in a perfect world. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm also going to pick Carlos Leal to come out here and win this fight. Now, before we talk about this next fight, I got to give a quick shout out to Narco Cop. I want to let y'all know about the sharpest and most well-rounded sports betting Discord I've ever been a part of. I'm talking about Narco Cop's premium Discord. My friends, these guys won over 170 units in 2025 across all sports. Obviously, they specialize in UFC, but these guys are out here crushing in boxing, in bare knuckle, NFL, college football, college basketball, NHL, soccer, golf, tennis, MLB. But of course, the focus is combat sports. They have live betting on every single UFC card, and it's a community feel like no other. One thing I really like about Narco Cop's Discord is that there's zero egos involved. Narco Cop takes care of the UFC and the bare knuckle, but he's got individual handicappers for boxing, for hockey, and soccer who are absolute heavy hitters. I mean, his boxing handicapper is ridiculous. And I got to tell y'all, bare knuckle boxing was a huge money winner in 2025. So my friends, I want to hook y'all up with 50% off your first month on Narco Cop's premium Discord. All you got to do is click the link in the description and enjoy 50% off the sharpest and most well-rounded sports betting Discord in the game today. Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Ode Osbourne, he's 13-9, taking on Alibi Idris, who is 10-1. Currently, they got it Idris minus 130. The comeback on Ode Osbourne's plus 110. Ode getting up there for a flyweight. He's 34. Idris is 31. Ode an inch taller at 5'7", but he's got a 5-inch reach advantage at 73 inches of reach. So, Brady, it's interesting. We know that, Idris got dog walked by Morales that last fight, but I got to tell you what, Morales, since he's come back to the UFC, guy looks like a future top 10 guy to me. And then sometimes on debuts, it just doesn't go guys' way. So I think that Alibi Idris is better than what he's shown. But Ode Osbourne has definitely paid more dues inside that octagon, and he's an ultra dangerous fighter. I think one of the things that lets Ode Osbourne down, similar to how we were talking about Chidi and Njokuani, Ode Osbourne cuts an insane amount of weight to get to 125 pounds. And that's why he tends to slow down as fights progress. But in that early going, he can knock you out and he can tap you out too. Back in the day, what he was mostly known for was tapping guys out off his back. He had triangles, he had arm bars. But recently, the way he's been finishing fights is starching fools, But even in fights he's lost, like against Ursek, hurt him badly. The fight against Lazy Boy hurt him and almost subbed him. Shout out to Lazy Boy for surviving that. So the question I have for you is, where do you rate Alibi Idris? Like, what kind of prospect do you think he is? And can he weather the early storm of a guy like Ode Osbourne, get him to that fatigue state, and take advantage of the fact that Ode cuts an insane amount of weight, and now he's almost 35 years old in the lowest weight class in the entire in all the men's divisions.
Yeah, I actually think both these guys are better than what their record shows. Like, I think Ode's a pretty talented fighter. You know, this guy hits like a truck for a flyweight. And yeah, he has a sneaky submission game off his back. He's a finisher in the division. It's just the cardio, it's not there. He does cut too much weight. The takedown defense is not there. The ground game, when he gets put on his back, you know, it's not there, especially as the fight goes on. He's been finished like 6 times in his career, which is a ton for a flyweight. He almost got finished in the Lazy Boy fight as well. That fight probably could have been stopped in the second round, and then he was very close to getting choked out by Steve Erceg late in that fight as well. So, yeah, I don't like that about Ode, but yeah, I think he's skilled. I think he has power. He can land some big shots, and he can maybe land a big shot here. And as far as Idris, this guy was like minus 500 in his debut. You know, people were sucking this guy's dick, and
yeah, don't get me banned.
they were sucking this guy off, and I went back and watched Idris over the week, and I kind of see why they were sucking him, man. I mean, this guy is pretty dang good. I like the pressure, the volume. There's a lot of spinning attacks. He can mix in the occasional takedowns as well, and I think that he should go out there and he should do exactly that. You know, pressure Ode. You know, mix in the takedowns, get him tired, extend this fight. And if you can extend Ode, if you can put him on his back when he's tired, I think he can potentially get Ode out of there. I also think Ode's a little bit chinny as well. So I think there's a lot of ways for Idris to win this fight. I think he can win it by knockout, submission, or decision. But Ode is going to be dangerous, especially in those first 5 to 7.5 minutes. Ode is going to be live to land something big. So I see why money is coming in on Ode, but ultimately I do lean towards Idris weathering a little bit of a storm, putting on Ode, and getting him out of there late in the fight.
Rain, man, I'm very curious what you have to say about this.
Man, I think the record here, like the 13-9 record versus 10-1 record, I just, you know, Alibi looked really good on the regional scene and on the Ultimate Fighter, but that's nothing compared to what Ode Osbourne has been dealing with, man. This guy's been fighting like top level guys for the most part, and, you know, like hot prospects like Luis Gurule, who we'll talk about in a minute. And, you know, he's always in there, man. He's always in the fight. His 13-9 record, like, I think he's a lot better than, you know, 13-9 shows. And I don't know if you guys know who Dewey Cooper is, but Ode's been training with Dewey Cooper, man. And Dewey Cooper, when he trains the Basharat brothers, he trains a lot of other great guys. I can't think of right now on the top of my head, but what I do know is when I see guys training with Dewey Cooper, they win fights, man. And this is clearly a step up in competition for Alibi, and I don't want to say step down in competition, but I don't think Alibi brings anything to the table that Ode Osbourne hasn't seen before. And we're getting a much more experienced guy fighting a guy with a shiny 10-1 record. I mean, I see why people are betting on Alibi, but I think Ode Osbourne's being like underrated, man. And yeah, just the fact that he's training with Dewey Cooper, that right there makes me lean Ode Osbourne this fight.
I agree with everything you said. The only thing I got to comment about the Dewey Cooper thing is, I mean, he's been training with Dewey Cooper, and he's 1-4 in his last 5 under Dewey Cooper. Mm-hmm. He's 2-5. Excuse me. He is 2-5 in his last 7 under Dewey Cooper. So to me, I mean, so what if he's training with Dewey Cooper?
I don't know, man. I haven't, like, I do a lot of Instagram stalking. I've never seen Dewey Cooper invested in Ode Osbourne the way he is right now. They're like best friends doing podcasts together. So it kind of looks like, I don't know, like he took him under his wing or something, or maybe they got closer in age, so they're just better friends now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think he has the right coach behind him to beat a guy like Alibi for sure. And just because of the experience here, I would take Ode Osbourne. I think he probably gets another knockout, man. Alibi's hittable. Like, we saw Joseph Morales kind of backing him up and just picking him apart, you know? Like, Alibi is hittable. So I think he needs to get his grappling going, man. If he tries to strike with Ode, like, you don't want to strike with Ode. Even Steve Erceg didn't want to strike with Ode.
Yeah, it's interesting. to me, it's one of these situations, kind of like the Chidi fight, where like the early going, I mean, forget about it. Ode Osbourne's hell on wheels in that first round, but with that weight cut, with him getting up there in age for a weight class like this, if Idris can get me late into the second round, get me to that third round, I think he'll start to take over. But I agree with you that there's a chance he might get starched in the early going. Ode, another one of these guys that I'm not the best at calling his fights. But you know, I picked Luis Gurule against him. He starched him, and yeah, I usually pick against Ode like pretty much every fight, except when I do pick him, he gets choked out by Brian Kelleher. So it's like,
oh my God, Brady, make the sound.
You know, but like with Idris, it's like no UFC experience, hasn't proven jack shit, favored over someone who's proven at least something, that he's dangerous, that he's experienced. So I guess by that line of thinking, it is a dog or pass situation. But even with that being said, the blueprint's been laid out on how to beat Ode Osbourne. So I mean, I'm not confident, but I'll pick Alibi Idris to weather the early storm and to get a either late finish or a 29-28 unanimous decision. So let's see what happens, gentlemen. Now, next up, also in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Alden Coria. He's 11-3, taking on the aforementioned Luis Gurule, who is 10-2. Currently, they got it. Alden Coria minus 280. The comeback on Luis Gurule is plus 240. Gurule is 5 years older at 32, 3 inches shorter at 5'5", and has a 3-inch reach disadvantage at 64 inches of reach. So, is this recency bias, this line on Alden Coria, massive underdog against Alessandro Costa? Now all of a sudden he's a near 3-1 favorite. I get it. He looked good against Costa, and I don't want to be the one to discredit that performance, but there kind of was an injury there. But again, Coria did look good, so I don't want to take anything away from him. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because I'm questioning, is Gurule one of these guys who like really did his thing on the regional scene, but then he just comes to the UFC and like it just doesn't pan out under the bright lights? Like it just like he just can't put it together in the UFC for whatever reason. Because I thought this guy was a legit prospect. He can wrestle his ass off. He can strike. Trains with good people. I thought he had a lot going for him, but in the UFC, he's been hurt in both fights. Listen, Ode Osbourne hits fucking hard, so I'm not going to take that away from him. Plus, it was his debut. But Jesus Aguilar, all of a sudden, it's not guillotine or bust with Jesus Aguilar. All of a sudden, Jesus Aguilar is looking like Julio Cesar Chavez against him, you know? So to me, that was really, really sketchy. And then with Alden Coria, I love how he looked in that debut, and I like who he trains with. He trains with Josh Van and Aswell, all those guys, and it's a hometown fight in Texas. But I also don't want to overrate just one performance. You know, I kind of need to still see a wait and see approach to really gauge what kind of prospect I think Alden Coria truly is. So, Rain Man, talk to me. I know you had an opinion about Gurule earlier, so what's your opinion about him here?
Yeah, man, I had a max bet on Gurule versus Ode Osbourne. I was so disappointed in his performance. Like, I thought that was his fight to lose, but, you know, like you said earlier, Ode's tough to put a finger on, man. As soon as you go to put a finger on Ode, you know, he, like, jumps like a little grasshopper and you miss him. I don't know, man. Alden Coria looks really green to me. And, yeah, like, his performance versus Alessandro Costa looked good, but you know, I saw Alden Coria get mauled. I don't know if you guys know that one regional fighter, Albert Trujillo.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that dude mauled Alden Coria, man. Mauled him. And Luis Gurule beat Albert Trujillo. So kind of like MMA math here, but I kind of think Luis Gurule is really hungry for a win. And I think he could grapple the shit out of Alden Coria here. Like, at these odds, I'm absolutely going to take a shot on Luis Gurule again. Yeah, like, I think he could end up looking like a big favorite, man. And you know, we're getting some massive odds here. So he's the older guy. He's definitely going to be the better grappler. Is he? The one thought I had about this fight, if Gurule does grapple, I feel like he could win, but it'll be boring and he could still end up getting cut from the UFC. I wonder if it's in the back of his mind after like We just saw Jalen Almeida get cut, like, so let's say Gurule has this game plan of coming out here and grappling the hell out of Alden Coria and getting a W. His job will still be in jeopardy. But if he comes out here and stands and bangs and, makes it exciting, like, it's crazy. But I feel like if he stands and bangs and loses, he has more of a chance to keep his job than if he comes out here and grapple fucks Alden Coria and gets a W. But yeah, man, I think he's really hungry for a win. I think he's gonna, I always stalk every fighter's Instagram, and like this dude's, he has his grappling shoes on, man.
What do you think, Brady? I mean, do you kind of view it as either third time's the charm, or Gurule just simply can't put it together under the brightest of lights? And one of the reasons that might be the case is, I mean, the guy's a fucking midget, and when we're talking about flyweight, and he's too small for flyweight.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing that sucks is I think Gurule's actually really skilled, and looking at these odds, that's like, I think skill for skill, the odds should be so much closer. It's just this guy, yeah, like I said, he's so small for flyweight. This guy's 5'5" with a 64-inch reach, and I also think he's just very chinny. He got hurt in the Osbourne fight. We can forgive him for that. He's been hurt in a lot of fights outside the UFC. He's getting dropped in pretty much every single one of them. But what I can't forgive him for is getting dropped by Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar hurt him very badly in the first round, and then Aguilar was, hurting him badly in the third round as well. I don't think this guy can take a punch. So I just don't trust him anymore. He burnt me against Osbourne. He burnt me against Jesus Aguilar. And it's like, how do you lose a striking fight to Jesus Aguilar? Aguilar has, I think, one of the shortest reaches in men's MMA history. It's like a 61, 62-inch reach, and Coria has like a 67-inch reach. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good point. Gurule could potentially wrestle here. I think that'd be very wise to do so. I think that's a path for him, but I just don't trust that chin to hold up. I think he's going to get hurt at some point. If Jesus Aguilar is hurting you, I think Coria probably will as well. So I lean Coria, but it is a hefty price tag, and I do think there's some recency bias. He was a massive dog in his debut, and now he's like a 3-1 favorite. So I lean Coria, but minus 300, no thank you.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to go back to the well with Gurule. I mean, burn me once, shame on me. Burn me twice, shame on me. Burn me thrice. I don't know what to do there. So to me, I just don't even want to get involved. I see the argument for a dogger pass situation because, again, one performance by Alden Coria against the guy who was injured, and again, that's not to take away from Coria's performance. He looked great there, but yeah, I just need to see more. I'm not. Like, you guys know that when I think someone's a future top 10 guy or future top 15, future champ, whatever, I'm going to let you know. But with Coria, I'm not saying he isn't. I just don't know enough. I need to see a little bit more. And this fight's going to really answer those questions for me. So to me, it's a wait and see approach. I need to sit back, see what they're all about. I'm going to pick Alden Coria as a pure pick because I'm sick of getting burnt by this Gurule guy. But maybe this is the time to come in on Gurule. Maybe this is recency bias. Maybe this is a market overcorrection. But I'm just going to sit on my couch Saturday night and find out if that's truly the case. So pure pick, I'm going to take Coria to win this fight. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a rematch that everybody asked for. Nobody asked for. We got Nora Cornolle. She's 9-3, taking on Joselyn Edwards, who's 16-6. Wow, experience gap for days. Jocelyn's minus 305. Nora Cornolle is plus 255. Cornolle, 6 years older at 36, an inch shorter at 5'7", 3-inch reach disadvantage to 67 inches of reach. Now, it's easy to mention how the first fight was a robbery. Plus, it was in France, where Cornolle is from. So, hey, it was just hometown cooking, whatever. But, like, don't forget where these fights are taking place Saturday. These fights are taking place in Texas, where they're known for some of the worst decisions in the history of the sport. Some of y'all need to go back and watch a fight between Tim Boesch and CB Dollaway, where CB Dollaway beat the dog shit out of Tim Boesch. And you guys want to know what the scorecards were? 30-26 Boesch.
Holy shit.
When you beat a guy's ass and they score the fight 30-26 for him. Do you understand what I'm saying here? That's what we're dealing with Texas. So to me, yeah, I think Joselyn Edwards is going to win. Yeah, I think Joselyn Edwards is much better. Yes, I think she won the first fight. Yes, I think she's in her career best form. and has Nora Cornhole, to quote Brady, Nora Cornolle covered everywhere, should we get involved? That's the big question, Brady. Should we get involved?
I mean, minus 300. I actually think she probably does look minus 300 here, to be honest, but it is a wide line considering, how the first fight went. And it was a close fight. I thought it was a pretty terrible decision. I actually scored the fight like 30-27 Edwards, and it was actually two judges that scored the fight 30-27 for Cornhole. But, since that fight, just a lot has changed, in my opinion, on the Edwards side. Like, I think she's made a ton of improvements. She's been training with Valentina. She's been at Extreme Couture, and she just kind of looks different. Kind of looks like she has a fire lit under her. She's, sitting down on her punches. She's getting knockouts, and you could say, oh, knocking out Priscilla, she sucks. Priscilla's next level durable. Like, that's her thing. She's a zombie. You can't kill a zombie. She went out there and sparked her in the first round. It's something that nobody's been able to do thus far, and Joselyn got her out of there. She knocked out Chelsea Chandler, who's not great, but she's a tough girl, and she knocked her out in the first round. She's showing grappling, and she even showed some grappling in their first fight where she took down Cornhole 6 times in that fight. And then you go back to Cornhole's last fight versus Karol Rosa, and she made Karol Rosa look like Khamzat Chimaev out there. I couldn't believe my eyes. Karol Rosa, primarily a striker, was taking her down, controlled her for, I believe, almost for over 11 minutes of that fight, got into plenty of dominant positions as well. I think Cornhole has kind of stayed stagnant over these last couple of years, if not gotten worse. And I think it's the complete opposite for Joselyn. I think she's gotten a lot better. So I think there's a reason the odds are where they are. I'd be kind of surprised if Cornhole went out there and pulled off the upset. I think it would have to be some sort of robbery type thing, but I actually think Joselyn's live to potentially, get a 4th finish in a row if she can get on top, get into dominant position, maybe get a submission or something. So I like Joselyn here, but yeah, they're kind of all over it, making her minus 300 here.
Rain Man, talk to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, Joselyn Edwards looked really good lately, but like Brady just mentioned, Priscilla Cachoeira, Chelsea Chandler, Tamaris Vidal, like those are her 3 wins. She did handle them accordingly. Like, she finished all these girls, man. Who would have ever thought Joselyn Edwards was about to get 3 finishes in a row? That was not on my bingo card. So she's obviously made improvements. I definitely think she's on some good supplements. Like, her body's changed in the last few years as well. Her abs are bulging out these days. And yeah, I mean, Nora Cornhole,
sorry,
yeah,
that name gets me every time.
Like, she's like, I feel like she's Priscilla Cachoeira at this point, except a little better gas tank. And
hold on. Who you got? Priscilla Cachoeira versus Nora Cornell?
Absolutely Nora Cornolle, man. Easy fight.
What about you, Brady?
I don't know, man. I'd probably pick Priscilla for the fun of it, to be honest.
All right, keep going, Rain Man.
Yeah, man. I mean, Nora Cornolle does have, like, in a weird way, like, I feel like if Joselyn Edwards doesn't wrestle and match her output, she could absolutely get robbed this fight, because I could see Nora Cornolle walking forward and getting outstruck. But like you said, crazy shit happens in Texas. Dude, like, one of these favorites is going to crack everybody's parlay, man. These big favorites are like landmines. One of them's going to lose. And I feel like this could be one of them, or Alden Coria could be one of them. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough fight to call. I'd have to go, like, if I was going to bet this fight, I would absolutely just put Joselyn Edwards in a parlay, and if she loses, oh well, I got cracked. But yeah, so I'll pick Joselyn Edwards to get the win, man, and just maybe, like, backpedal and land more strikes and hopefully get 6 takedowns again, but land more damage on the ground this time, because last time she did nothing on the ground, which is why Nora Cornolle got taken down 6 times and still won the fight.
They say everything's bigger in Texas, and the robberies are bigger in Texas too. Let me tell you that. Listen, the first time they fought, Edwards won most of the fight, but the reason that she lost, just to keep it 100 with y'all, is the visuals at the end of rounds, right? You'd get on top of Cornolle, and Cornolle would reverse position and end the rounds on top. If I remember correctly, it's been a while. I think that's what happened, right? And when you end rounds on bottom, these judges, they use that against you, so little things like that need to be tweaked. But the thing about it is, I haven't seen any kind of evolution in Cornolle's game, dude. Like you saw that last fight against Carl Hosa. When you can make the most 50-50 flaky fighter, unreliable Carl Hosa, look like God's gift to fighting, that's like a clear sign that, okay, hey, Cornolle, you got that lucky win against Joselyn Edwards, maybe another win too, but I think we're getting back to reality Saturday night. And Joselyn Edwards has been looking phenomenal. And I love the fact that she's been in the UFC since she was just a kid. She's been through her ups, she's been through her downs, she's had her embarrassing setbacks, and now she's finally putting it together. She's finishing some durable fighters, man. And I think that there's a good chance that Saturday on the early prelims, she finishes Nora Cornolle and gets this vengeance. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure she's the one that asked for this. I'm sure when they were like, "Hey, who do you want next?" I'll tell you who I want next. I want that one back, and I think she's gonna get it back Saturday. So yeah.
The revenge factor is massive here.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So. Hopefully judges don't need to be involved, and if they are, give me like a 30-27 or 30-26, although Brady had it 30-27 last time and it didn't matter. So 30-26 Bosch. That's what we're going with, my friends. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Ramiz Brahimaj, he's 13-5, taking on Puna Haley Soriano, who's 12-4 currently. They got it. Ramiz is favored -120. The comeback on Puna is +100. Both men 33. Puna, an inch taller at 5'11", has a half inch of reach at 72.5 inches of reach. So credit to both these guys. It's cool to see guys that have, kind of had rocky starts to their UFC careers, and now they're kind of on the biggest win streaks of their UFC careers. They're starting to get more mature, more comfortable inside the octagon, and they're meeting at the best point of both their respective careers. So you love to see it. Brady, how do you feel about Ramiz Brahimaj being a favorite in a UFC fight against someone not named Michael Gilmore? And how do you also feel about Puna since he's dropped to 170 pounds?
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting fight here. Both these guys, I believe, are on 3-fight winning streaks, which is kind of crazy to me because I'm not really high on either of these guys whatsoever. That last fight for Soriano against Veretinnikov, I don't know. I just didn't love that performance. He was completely gassed, and he was making a ton of mistakes. The good thing in that fight was Veretinnikov just like really stinks and wasn't able to take advantage of it, but he put himself into a ton of bad spots on the mat. It's like if he does that here, he's getting subbed. I don't know. Ramiz Brahimaj, I kind of thought he stunk as well. After that Themba fight, kind of wrote him off, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak now. Not against the best competition, but a win over Billy Ray Goff, that's not a bad look. He did knock out Mickey Gall, got his first knockout win there. And then he did go out there and beat Austin Vanderford. Not a horrible win, but I don't know about this fight. I think Puna Soriano actually has a lot of ways to win this fight. I think he can win minutes in terms of the striking. I think he can mix in the takedowns here. But, if he slips up, if he makes a mistake, Ramiz will be live to snatch at the neck, could potentially get a guillotine. And if Ramiz gets on top here, gets to the back, the fight could be over shortly after. And I don't know. This is a greasy one. I feel like, early on in this fight, Soriano might have some success, but once these guys slow down and get tired, we've seen Soriano make mistakes against Dustin Stoltzfus. We saw him make mistakes against Veretinnikov. And I kind of think he's going to make a mistake here and get subbed, but I'm not too confident. Ramiz was the underdog like a week and a half ago. The line has flipped. I'm not playing Ramiz as a favorite. This is like a pick'em type fight, in my opinion, but I lean towards Ramiz finding that submission. But I don't know. Not a ton of faith in it, but give me Ramiz by sub here.
Okay. Rain Man, what you think?
I think this is a great stylistic matchup because Ramiz is gonna bring the fight to Soriano, man. He's gonna force Soriano to fight. What's gonna happen is hard to say. This is another high variable fight. It could go so many ways, Yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like opposite of what Brady said. I feel like Ramiz is going to have success early because he's going to be the one bringing the fight to Soriano. I don't remember Punli Soriano gassing out. I kind of have in my notes that he has the better cardio here. Is that not am I off here?
So
I thought Ramiz actually slows down and, brings the pressure early.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right about Ramiz definitely slowing down, but Puna's a gasser too. They're both gassers.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, man. So I kind of saw, like, from the tape I watched and the notes I wrote down, I thought Ramiz was going to have success early, just, marching forward and just throwing harder. Like, I could imagine putting two Punali Sorianos in the cage together and it'll look like Carla Esparza versus Rose Namajunas. Like, they'll literally just walk in circles and throw jabs. I mean, Punali Soriano is really, like, defensively sound. And that's what makes this a great stylistic matchup, because Ramiz is going to bring the fight to him, man, and something's going to happen. Something's got to give. And I think if Punali Soriano survives late, he could find like a second wind and outpoint, or possibly, like, if he gets on top of Ramiz, I mean, probably maybe finish him. But early going, it's all Ramiz. If I had to bet, I would have to bet on the guy that's going to be winning in round one. So I pick Ramiz.
Okay, so you had Ramiz too, Brady?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 for Ramiz. That means that I got to come out here and take Puna Haley Soriano as an underdog. I'm not going to lay no chalk on Ramiz Brahimaj unless he's fighting, like, bottom of the barrel. And look, I love what Ramiz has done lately. He's putting it together. But the guys he's been beating, he would have beat at any point. He just happened to get them back to back to back. I mean, you're telling me he wouldn't have beat Mickey Gall at any point in his career, or some of these other guys, And with Puna Haley Soriano, he's an All-American wrestler somehow. But no, in all seriousness, he's an All-American wrestler. I think he can use that wrestling in reverse, keep this fight standing. They're both heavy hitters. But Puna dropping from 185 pounds, I think he's going to be the heavier hitter. Both guys are big-time gassers. So, I mean, Ramiz has never won a decision before. Ramiz, it's first round or bust. I know he's had a second round finish, like maybe once or twice, but historically speaking, it's first round or bust. Soriano can fight deep into fights. And I know there were some sketchy spots against Veretetnikov where, you leave your neck against Ramiz in that same instance. He might snatch it up, but you also look at the box score of that fight, and I mean, it was still 30-27 times 3. I mean, he still shut him out in every aspect of MMA. So I think the early going is going to be super chaotic. And then I think that Puna is going to wear on Ramiz down the stretch and win this fight and extend his win streak to 4. So I think it's Soriano that continues his win streak and gets an upset against Ramiz Brahimaj. So I'm going to go Puna Haley Soriano, my friends.
It's difficult to, like, call these fights for me because I like to play DraftKings lineups, and if I'm gonna play DraftKings, like, I think Ramiz is the underdog on DraftKings still, even though the odds flipped. But I want to like bet on the guy that's gonna get a round 1 finish and try to hit that optimal lineup. So I think that's what sways me to, like, say I'm gonna bet on the guy that's gonna win round 1. But you heard my breakdown, man. I kind of totally agree with you. I feel like if Ramiz doesn't get him out of there early, Punali Soriano is definitely alive late.
Yes, sir. All right. Before we talk about the next fight, I got to give a quick shout out to Home of Fight. All right, real quick shout out. If you're not in the Home of Fight Picks Discord yet, you're leaving money on the table. They put in hundreds of hours of research on every single fight card. And in 2025, they finished up over 130 units. And they're doing something crazy for the fans of Half the Battle. Home of Fight Picks is giving away this weekend's plays for free. Just click the link in the description and join the Discord with over 6,000 members. And let's cash these parlays together this weekend. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani. He's 9-2, taking on Phil Rowe, who's 11-6. Currently, they got Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani minus 205. The comeback on Phil Rowe is plus 175. JP is 27. Phil Rowe is 35. He's getting up there. Phil Rowe, always the taller man at 6'3", and he always has a reach advantage, and specifically an 8.5-inch reach advantage, which, by the way, he had a longer reach advantage his last fight against Seok Hunko, and it did not matter, just like it tends to not matter in any Phil Rowe fight. I'm a guy that's cashed on Phil Rowe a lot. I cashed on him against Jason Witt. I cashed on him against Ange Lusa. And what do those perform against Nico Price as well? What do some of those performances have in common? Maybe not the Nico Price one, but the other ones. He gets his ass kicked every single fight. People get tired from kicking his ass, and then he finishes them. And there's only so many times that you can do that, gentlemen, because his style has been 100% figured out. And honestly, I think that Phil Rowe is a big-time letdown. when you have the physical attributes that this guy brings to the table, longest reach in the weight class, 6'4", like when he lands that right hand, people give him ridiculous reactions. Also, his jiu-jitsu ain't half bad either. It's just like he can't really put it together. He's never won a decision before. All his wins are comebacks. And when all your wins are reliant on comebacks, taking an ass whooping up front, that's going to wear on your durability big time, because when you finally can't take that ass whooping up front, you're going to get finished. B, his style's been completely figured out. And C, he's 35 years old, coming off an absolutely demoralizing loss where it was like, it was so bad to the point where if he loses this, I'm going to make a bold prediction. This is going to be Phil Rowe's last UFC fight. So my whole thing is, what kind of prospect do y'all think Lebosnoyani truly is? Because what I know about him is that as a kid, he was like a child jiu-jitsu prodigy. But nowadays, he's kind of put his striking together a lot. He's a guy that moved up from 55, so his frame is really filling out at 170. He's not cutting insane amounts of weight anymore. I know he got knocked out by Spike Carlisle. Go ahead, Brady.
Oh, God.
But those are the kind of things that need to happen for you to understand that, hey, I got to move up to 170 pounds. If I can't take a shot by the ginger midget, well, like, how am I going to make a run? So he moves up to 170 pounds. Now he's doing his thing, but this is a debut, and it's a debut against a much more experienced man. He's favored in this debut, but that much more experienced man's been figured out. So, Brady, I got to know, again, where do you rate Lebosnoyani as a prospect, and how do you think these two match up in this matchup?
Yeah, I think Lebosnoyani is actually, solid. I don't think he's anything special, but to be honest, I don't think you really need to be something special to beat Phil Rowe. So I don't know, with Rowe, is like you mentioned, this guy is the ultimate Homer Simpson. All of his wins, he's getting beat up in the first round and a half. Like even the Cosi fight, like Cosi won the first round against him. Jason Witt won the first round against him. Angelusa was on his way to probably winning a decision there, and then Phil Rowe sparked him late. So it's like Lebosnoyani, I think he's pretty good everywhere. He's a solid striker. He's actually a very good grappler. He doesn't wrestle a ton, but I mean, if you're Lebosnoyani, like, it's like, take this guy down. Phil Rowe cannot stuff a takedown. And one thing about Phil Rowe, if you take him down, we've seen it time and time again. If you take Phil Rowe down, he's literally not getting up, and he's actually not going to try to get up. It's actually kind of concerning, like how much urgency he doesn't have in there. It's like he's not even trying. So yeah, I think the blueprint is out on how to beat Rowe. Stay away from those big shots, mix in the takedowns, and I think Lebosnoyani should cruise here. And I guess the only thing that does concern me is he has been knocked out in both of his losses, but they were a long time ago, and I do think he's gotten a lot better since then. So yeah, give me Lebosnoyani here. I think it's probably a decision, man. I mean, if Rowe's like 0-5 or 0-6 in decision, it's terrible, and it's because he just doesn't do anything. So yeah, I think Lebosnoyani gets it done.
Real quick, and this is a question for both of y'all. Do we have any kind of evidence or concerns about a possible cardio issue from JPL here, my friends?
I don't. He looked good in his last Contender Series fight that went like late round 2. But
okay, because that's where Rowe take that ass whooping up front and then get a third round finish, which he's done so many times. But it's like, how many times can you rely on comeback finishes? Like, y'all see what Chito Vera's been looking like lately? Chito Vera's like the Phil Rowe of 135 pounds, where walking punching bag for 2.5 rounds, and then all of a sudden he kills you, right? But like, now that's been figured out, I mean, he's looking so bad to a point where it's like, if Chito Vera loses his next fight, he's out the UFC, So, Rain Man, is this Phil Rowe's last UFC fight?
I think it will be, man. I think you're right about that. I didn't really put that much thought into like Phil Rowe's last fight, but absolutely, man. And this Lebosnoyani kid, dude, I don't know how early he started training with Brian Ortega, but I read somewhere that he was like Brian Ortega's he was training with Brian Ortega since he was a kid, and then eventually became his main training partner. I don't know exactly the timeline, but I do know At one point, this guy became Brian Ortega's main training partner. And I think that right there is like all the tools he needs this fight to just get on top of Phil Rowe, stay safe, don't get subbed. And if he's on top of Phil Rowe's not getting up. I imagine his gas tank's easily going to cruise through 3 rounds. He's also shown some power in his hands, but you don't really want to, I don't think John Paul wants to throw power hooks at Phil Rowe, and Phil Rowe has like that Magniverse effect where he'll drain you and just kind of like step on the gas out of nowhere in round 3 when you least expect it, and you're like, man, this guy just won't go away. So I think as long as Jean Paul fights a smart game plan, I think he cruises to victory here.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. Phil Rowe's been figured out, and yeah, and that's why they're giving him a debutant. And I think this might be the last time we see Phil Rowe. I mean, hopefully he doesn't lose the entire fight and then get a 3rd round finish. That'll be, like Mike Malott versus Neil Magny type ordeal. That would really suck for Lebosnoyani. But yeah, give me Lebosnoyani to come out here and do his thing. So that's
Phil Rowe kind of just looks checked out, doesn't he? Like he just looks.
Yeah.
Even during the fight, man.
That last fight was such a bad look. I mean, look, I know Seok Ko is a lot better than we thought, but like still, it was like 0 effort, Whereas in the past, when Rowe's gotten taken down, he's had sweeps, he's had all these things, but that was like a sign of a decline and a sign of someone that's disinterested and it's probably checked out, but I mean, I don't blame him. Like, he gets rocked so badly every fight. There's only so much of that you can take. I was at the Ange Lusa fight in Atlanta, Georgia. I was thanking my lucky stars that I cashed a bet on Phil Rowe there. And I think I'm done betting on him,
Absolutely.
Next up in the featherweight division, we got the return of Yadier Del Valle. He's 10-0, taking on Jordan Levitt, who's 12-3. Currently, they got it Yadier -400. The comeback on Jordan Levitt's +330. So Del Valle, a year younger at 29, both men 5'9". Levitt actually has a 2-inch reach advantage in this spot. I just got to keep it a buck with y'all. It's with Levitt, it's just one of these situations where like I just don't take him that seriously. Like, I don't think that he presents any kind of threat whatsoever at the UFC level. I mean, the guy doesn't know how to throw a punch. His kicking game is weak. His jiu-jitsu is the best part of his game, but for UFC standards, I think his jiu-jitsu is a C-, So to me, the only thing is like Del Valle, hey, he just beat like a serious wrestler. I know, fixed or not, from his perspective, he's probably like, dude, if I can sprawl on Isaac Dulgaria and imagine what I'm going to do to this, So to me, I just don't take Levitt seriously. I don't think his opponents take him seriously. And I don't think that Del Valle is going to feel any threat whatsoever by Jordan Levitt. And I think he's going to bully him in a way where we said it's Phil Rowe's last UFC fight. I think this might be Jordan Levitt's last UFC fight. I think Del Valle is going to knock this guy out in the first round, Brady.
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way. Like Del Valle, fixed or not, I think is a good prospect. I think we can all agree on that. He has a lot of power on the feet, really good ground and pound, really good submission game as well. Levitt's cutting down a weight class here, so I kind of want to see Levitt on the scales. But regardless, it's like Levitt, he can't stuff a takedown. Has like a 30% takedown defense. I think Del Valle can get on top. And then on the feet, like you mentioned it, Del Valle just going to show him no respect. He's just going to march forward, land big shots, and yeah, probably does finish him in the first round. So a lot of money's came in on Del Valle throughout the week, and I think he probably goes out there and pays off his price tag and finishes Jordan Levitt early.
Rain Man, talk to me.
And I think Jordan Levitt's one of the worst strikers I've ever seen in the UFC. Like, has there been a worse striker than him on the feet?
If you watch Mayhem Miller versus Michael Bisping, that might be the only example I can think of.
Gosh,
Juliana Miller.
Juliana Miller has better striking than Jordan Levitt, man. Just flailing her hands and the volume is already better. I mean, dude, Jordan Levitt.
Who y'all got in that fight? Juliana Miller versus Jordan Levitt.
I think Jordan Levitt would kill her.
Are you sure? You don't think Juliana Miller? You don't think Killer Miller has a chance there?
That's hilarious.
I'm just kidding. Keep going.
Yeah, man. So I really like Yadier Del Valle. Like, dude, if that Isaac Dalgarian fight like wasn't fixed and he really handled Isaac Dalgarian in that way, what the hell is Jordan Levitt going to do in this fight, man? Like, he is absolutely drawing dead. And I hate the way Jordan Levitt goes for takedowns. I hate the way he strikes. Like, I don't know what he's gonna do, man. Like if this fight is on the feet for longer than like 30 seconds at distance, like Del Valle's gonna knock him out so bad. Yeah, man. I just don't give Jordan Levitt any shot in this fight, man. Super sloppy on the feet, super sloppy takedown attempts. Like versus a guy that we just saw sprawl and take Isaac Dalgarian's back and choke him out. Like, what the hell is Jordan Levitt supposed to do here?
Yeah. Rain Man, question for you. I know you're a proud Armenian, you know what I'm saying? Is Isaac Dalgarian allowed in Glendale, California?
Glendale, man, we love guys that could do fraud and get away with it. That's what that's what Armenians do in Glendale. They just do fraud and get away with it. And Isaac Dalgarian did the damn thing.
Have you seen any glimpses of Dalgarian in Glendale? And you know, walking around with some bags and you know, all of a sudden he's got nice shoes and a new car and
I think Isaac Dalgarian's like he's mixed, right? He's not like 100% Armenian.
yeah, I mean Armenian American.
Yeah, like
He walks out with an Armenian flag.
yeah, he sure does, man. I love that he reps Armenians, but I really didn't like what he did last fight, man. Like that was a really bad look for the UFC and a bad look for the Armenian flag, man. All jokes aside, I was just kidding about the fraud. It's just funny though. Armenians are like literally known for like scamming insurance companies and like I don't know, man. Like they find loopholes. They don't rob people. They're like we don't steal from people, but like we'll find loopholes in the system and milk it. And I feel like it was a matter of time an Armenian fighter found a loophole in the UFC and like capitalized. Of course he had to get caught. Like, I don't know, man. Anyway, subject for a different day.
The sad thing about it is he could have actually been like a top 10 guy.
Yeah, I know, man. I had a lot of like that was one of my like, you know, VIP plays, Isaac Dalgarian. And yeah, just watching that as soon as that fight was over, I tweeted something was shady about that fight, dude, and then it like exploded. Like all these allegations started coming in and then it just didn't stop, man. Like an avalanche after that. I knew watching that fight live that something shady just took place. It was wild. Like that was not, he did not fight. It was crazy. He just did not fight.
Yeah, the only time I felt more dirty watching a fight was, you know, Mr. Derek Minner versus Shai Ilan. But besides that, Mr. Dalgarian took the cake. So, yeah. Now, last but not least, gentlemen, in the flyweight division, we got the aforementioned Juliana Miller. She's 4-3, Brady. 4-3. Taking on Carly Judice, who's 5-2. Currently, they got it. Carly Judice minus 750. The comeback on Juliana Miller's plus 550. Miller, 3 years older at 29. Both women 5'7". Carly Judice has a 2-inch reach advantage in this spot. My friend Brady, talk to me. I know you have a lot to say about Juliana Miller's striking or whatever that's referred to. Is that striking? I mean, I've seen people in day one Taibo class with better striking technique than Juliana Miller. But that being said, if Juliana Miller if Carly Judice slips and Juliana Miller gets on top of her, what happens there? Does Judice just scramble back up to her feet and then light her up? Or is Judice going to stay grounded should that occur? Because we're dealing with a minus 750. So I think it's fair to bring up scenarios like that.
Yeah, I guess it all comes down to whether or not Judice likes boats and hoes like Michel Pereira. If she doesn't like boats and hoes, I mean, I think she wins this fight. Like the striking difference between these two is astronomical. It's night and day. Juliana Miller has a 36% strike and defense. I don't think I've seen a strike and defense that low before. And then Carly Judice is landing over 10 significant strikes per minute. Like that's unheard of volume. So I think Carly's going to hit Juliana Miller in the face a lot, and I think it's going to be bad. You know, I don't think Miller has the wrestling to get it down to the mat. And if this fight's on the feet like I expect it to be, I could see it being like a mercy stoppage. Like, just going back and seeing what Luana Santos did to Juliana Miller, like it was a really bad look. Luana Santos isn't a great striker in her own right, and she went out there and just destroyed Miller, and finished her by knockout in the first round. So I can only imagine what Carly Judice is going to do to her on the feet. So yeah, Miller needs to desperately get this fight.
Look at this, guys. Are you seeing this right now?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm watching, Dan.
What is that? Is that like those weren't even real punches that knocked her out?
They weren't real punches. I don't know what those were. So I mean, Carly Judice is going to throw real punches. She's going to throw real knees. She's going to throw real kicks, and I think she's going to knock out Miller probably in the first round.
Rain Man, the question is, can Juliana Miller get this to the mat by hook, by crook, by banana peel, by body lock takedown? Like, is there any chance? It's a plus 550 dog.
No, man. I think even if she does, Carly Judice just gets back up. The crazy thing is, I bet on Juliana Miller both times she won, and I faded her both times she lost. So I've actually called her fights perfectly. Yeah, I think last fight, like, who was it? It was a Petrovic.
That's right, Petrovic.
Yeah, so Petrovic's a complete bum, and I took Juliana Miller just because I was like, I tweeted it out. I was like, if you're not taking Juliana Miller first fight of the night plus 200, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, because Petrovic was just as bad as Miller, and I actually thought Miller had like a grappling upside that fight, but she has no upside this fight, man. And a crazy stat about Carly Judice, the 3 fights that went to decision in the UFC, if you add up, she landed 446 strikes, man. Like, could you imagine how many strikes she's about to land on Juliana Miller if this goes the distance? Like, you just saw that clip of Juliana Miller, like, no defense whatsoever. So basically, she's just going to get, like a 50-piece combo landed on her and finished. I really like Carly Judice inside the distance.
Yeah. And do you know what the price is on
that? I could let you know right now.
Yeah, let me know. So Judy's volume striking, technical striking. My only concerns are it's minus 750 and she's had less than 10 pro fights. But luckily she's going up against Juliana Miller, who doesn't know how to throw a punch and has been stopped multiple times in a weight class where they're not known for stopping shit. And, Miller at least has a path if she can somehow get on top. That's literally it. She's not going to win the fight on the feet. She's not going to win the fight if Judice gets back up from any kind of takedowns. And she's not going to win the fight if any kind of adversity is presented to her whatsoever. So, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to pick a minus 750. I'm going to pick it. I'm just curious, is it going to be a first-round knockout or is it going to be like a significant strike record set on Juliana Miller's face?
Yeah, I don't think Miller can last that long, man. I mean, just the optics against the cage right there versus Luana Santos, that was Brady. I need your sound effect.
Oh God, just so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
So Carly Judice to win by TKO or sub, which is basically inside the distance, is minus 160. Like, that is such a good line, man. I see her winning inside the distance again, like probably like, man, I want to say 10 out of 10 times. Like, that should be minus 1,000. No, Carly Judice inside the distance feels like should be minus 1,000.
What is it? Sorry,
minus 160.
Oh, I mean, hey, fuck it. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed lock, but I'm saying you're taking a minus 750 and turning it into a minus 160. Might as well roll the dice, right?
It's not bad.
Just looking at how Luana Santos was just bullying her against the cage, like Carlos Judice, like I just said, landed 446 strikes in her fights that went the distance. Like, she's going to land 200 strikes here, man.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, but let me say something. 200 strikes. Can Killer Miller eat 200 strikes?
I don't think so. That's why I said this looks like a minus 1,000 play for a minus 160 here.
Okay. Well, y'all know who I'm picking as well. So now, normally I do the fight to watch and the fighter to watch, but today let's just do our fighters to watch. You can name one or you can name up to 3. So I'm going to go first. So my fighters to watch for this card are Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, Zach Reese, and Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani. Hernandez, because if he wins this, number one, he's on an 8-fight win streak. He will be on a 9-fight win streak. This is a former champion. To get to that title fight, you must defeat a former champion. He's got his main event showcase. And we've all thought that the way this guy's been looking, the style he brings to the table, that's so unique, that weaponized cardio, I mean, this could be a guy to go on some kind of title run or title reign. You know, it's just you got Khamzat Chimaev as champ, but the thing is, I could totally see Khamzat Chimaev, you know, go fight Imavov and then retire. Khamzat don't need this shit, and this ain't the Khamzat who was like kill everybody and he wants to fight every single weekend and do these things. Now the guy fights once every blue moon. So he's got his money. I think he beats Imavov, retires, and I think Fluffy Hernandez, if he does what he's supposed to do, if he does what I think he's going to do Saturday night, you could be looking at the next champion. So Hernandez is my fighter to watch. Zach Reese, because, dude, you've crushed grapes. Will you drink wine against the ghost of Michel Pereira, a Michel Pereira who lost his soul? We have 40 minutes of footage that says that Michel Pereira ain't been looking the same. It's not just like, oh, he just got caught. It's like, no, 40 minutes of footage of this guy progressively looking worse and worse. This is the opportunity of a lifetime for Zach Reese. And for Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, you're making your UFC debut against an established UFC vet, a vet that tends to get his ass whooped every single fight, win, lose, or draw. And if Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani comes out here and not just beats Phil Rowe, but if he can come out here and make a statement, you might be looking at a new prospect at 170 pounds. So for those reasons, my friends, those are my fighters to watch. Brady, who is your fighter to watch?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple out there as well. My first one's going to be Joselyn Edwards. It's like we all know nobody asked for this rematch. Nobody besides Joselyn. You know, we know you asked for it, Joselyn. You know, you lost the split decision in France. Go out there and not only win the fight, you know, maybe don't leave it up to the crooked, corrupt judges this time. So I think Edwards is a fighter to watch. You know, Carly Judice, you know, I'm watching you, Carly. You know, it seems like the UFC these last couple of weeks, they've been giving some of these guys layups, right? Like they gave Mikel Olazechuk, Marc-Andre Barrio, they gave Danilo Donchenko, Alex Morono, and you should be going out there and finishing these guys. And that's exactly what Carly Judice should be doing. She's getting an absolute layup here. Go out there and finish Juliana Miller. And then lastly, I'll go Yadier Del Valle. You know, a lot of people are looking at him. You know, he won a fixed fight in his last fight. I think he's I think he's a little bit tired of hearing that. And if he can go out there and do what he did in his last fight to Jordan Levitt, I think that'd be pretty impressive. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. So those are my fighters to watch.
Rain Man, who are your fighters to watch?
Man, we almost had a clean sweep. I was like, wow, we all chose different fighters. So my first one was going to be Yadier Del Valle. I really want to see like a real fight, not one that everyone, including me, thought it was fake, you know? So I want to see how he handles, man, but Levitt's not really the greatest example when I started thinking deeper into it, but I do want to see how Yadier Del Valle, I think like Yadier Del Valle could be like a top 25 fighter, maybe even a top 15 fighter, man. Like I actually think he's really good. And he's very serious. Like he's like eating, sleeping, breathing MMA. So I'm very excited for that fight. And other fighter I'm excited to watch is Carlos Leal, another guy that's like, you know, he's on a bounce back fight, and I just kind of want to see him keep his left hand up this time and get in there and break a guy like Chidi and cash me a -125 ticket.
Love it. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining me right here, right now on Half the Battle. To the fans, check this out. Once we hit 15K subscribers on Half the Battle, we're going to be giving out a signed UFC 322 poster by the entire card. That means if someone was on that card, they signed it. I'm talking Islam Makhachev, JDM, Carlos Prates, Michael Morales, Valentina, Wiley, et cetera, et cetera. If they were on that card, they signed this poster. 15K subscribers, one of y'all is getting that. Once we hit 25K subscribers, I'm going to be giving out a piece from my collection, which is a signed glove by UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping. So 25K subscribers, one of y'all is getting a signed UFC glove by Michael Bisping. Once we hit 50K subscribers, one of y'all is going to enjoy a nice Brazilian steak dinner in Atlanta, Georgia on me. So hook me up and I will hook y'all up. As far as my guests, you know that they're amazing. Brady with Stats Diggers, DFS by the numbers. Brady, any message for the fans?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And I think it's going to be a really good card here. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to some violence. And yeah, thanks for having me on once again, Dan.
Of course. Rain Man, we have picks. Tell the fans what's up.
Hey, Brady, thank you for your time too, man. And Dan, always like really appreciate you having me on. Yeah, man, super excited for this card, and yeah, can't wait.
Yes, sir. To the fans, thank you all so much for all your support. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe.
Oh, one question, Dan. Is that Brazilian steakhouse you keep talking about? So are you gonna fly somebody out to Atlanta and like get them a hotel room and get them a Brazilian steak dinner? What's up with that? Because you know me, Brady, and everybody else you do shows with we're all gunning for these prizes. We're all trying to help you get to 50K subscribers.
Listen, you got to get to ATL on your own, but if you do, I'm paying for that dinner. So, you know,
All right, got you.
flight and hotel not included, but the dinner is on me and you can order whatever you want. So, yeah. So, dinner's on me for 50K subscribers.
Hell yeah. All right.
So, to the fans, thank you all so much for all your support. Please hit the like button, that subscribe button. I need those subscribes to get up, and leave me a comment as well. So thank you all so much for your support. I'm on Instagram at Half the Battle Pod, TikTok, Half the Battle Podcast, Twitter at Best Fight Picks. And then also I'm on the audio platforms, the Spotify's, the Apple Musics, wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll find me. Just type in Half the Battle. So thank you all so much for all your support. Shout out to the GOAT Meticulous for the incredible graphics, the highlight reels, the thumbnails, and every single thing that he contributes to the show. He's the man. Thank you, Meticulous, the GOAT. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.